grinding and doing a lot of like work related shit for like a month has been driving me just a little loco. You feel me? Because like prior to this, all I've been doing for
I
like the
feel
last
you.
couple of years is just school nonstop. Finally, got the job.
Well, good evening, everyone. Today is February 4th, 2022. You're at Ghettos of the Mind. My name is Street Librarian, and a bunch of us here talking. This is Black History Month, and in this particular episode, I want to try and cover a few things. And what I'm probably going to title this is the state of Black America. And I want to sort of have us sort of talk about things. And obviously we can't do this in one setting. This is a huge topic, but I was thinking we can kind of maybe get started on it. So we'll talk about some of the things where we're at now, maybe look at some past things, and maybe look at future things. We break it in three parts. So I want to kind of start from that standpoint. And I was looking at in preparation show. I was looking at the Urban League they create a state of Black America every year. They did one for Black people for 2021. They haven't done one for this year yet, obviously. And I was looking at it, and it's interesting to see how some of the things that they have in it. And one of the things that's really interesting, and it's been going on for years, is, let me see if I can find it, but it talks about the wealth gap between Black and white Americans. And, it's something that I really hadn't really, I don't really think about. You think about the median family income, like how, like the lack of money. And I'll just show you, it's just staggering. It really, if you look at the differences between the median family income, I'll show you. It's one thing I got here before I go to it. Let's see if I got here. Come on, this one.
Why are you
Right.
looking?
While Streets is looking it up, DJ, which president is that in your background?
President. That's
I can't tell because of where the light is hitting the picture behind you.
hold on. Let me see. Can you see it now?
Barely. It looks, I want to say Obama. I can't tell.
Somebody said Ronald Reagan.
I thought it was Ronald Reagan at first, but like I can't really tell.
Actually, sir, it's a picture of a commander. It's a picture of me when I was commander of the Hartford American Legion. I served as commander for 5 years.
All
So
right,
you
man.
were president of Hartford. Gotta say, that's a really good presidential picture of you.
All right, man.
You gotta admit, it looks like a presidential portrait.
Thank you. I have some interesting background, huh? On abstract.
I see, man.
You tell him,
Yeah,
DJ.
we're
We're gonna have to.
I told you I had more abstract. I told you I told you I can go on.
I see. So anyhow,
Right,
one of the things that I was
Street,
looking at is if you look at this stat here, the median family income by race.
I'm glad you brought this up, Street Librarian, because before COVID, folks in general, Black folks, were already living in the margins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing just enough to get by.
Right.
Whether this is my opinion, I just want to say that. Whether they were living in the margins because that's all they knew,
right?
And based on their education, maybe they had a criminal history and they couldn't get like a good paying job, but they were just living in the margins.
Mm-hmm.
COVID really exposed the haves and the have-nots.
Yep.
Me and my wife have good jobs, and we make a good salary, but it had an effect on us as well.
Mm-hmm.
We had to reshuffle our finances, and and we made it through. So I can only imagine those who don't make a quote unquote livable wage. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like my kids live, they work part-time at a grocery store. There's some people who work full-time at like Dunkin' Donuts and stuff like that.
Yep.
It
is incredibly, I think I brought this up to as kind of to show you is that, like, I think we think sometimes when we look at the problems within Black America and the issues we have, and it's like, oh, all we need to do is just stop spending some money on sneakers and what's called all this other stuff like that's going to save stuff. And it's like, if you look at this picture, we are so far behind all households, behind white folks mostly, but all households in general. It's so much more than just that has affected us, that led us to be where we are. And it's not just we're buying too much sneakers and wasting money. And I'm sure that's also a reason, but it's just interesting thing to look at. But if you have a chance, it's interesting to look at it. Show like how what some of the causes of what affects us and some of the disparities between Black and whites, especially in this country.
I was going to ask you to bring the graph up again because there are two weird things just in that one little image. Can you bring it up again?
Yeah.
I think you can attribute the net worth bar to generational wealth. People, we have not had a chance to benefit from the generational wealth, whether it was we were never issued that 40 acre and a mule and all that. I think that plays a whole big factor. If you look at the income, especially under the whites, and if you see how great the net worth and the disparity between Blacks and whites, I think I attribute generational wealth to that.
I mean, you have to agree, and you have to. It's when you look at the big picture, you just see how when it's a gap like this, you just can't account and say, well, we're just lazy. It's way more than that. You know what I mean? And then if you look at the other things here, let me show you another thing about this chart that's interesting. Is that if you notice in the other here,
I want to talk after you though.
If you notice in the charts here, the red one is income, and the other one, the black one, is net worth. We're the only group of the three that has there's a higher income than net worth. It basically means that our net worth is less than what we actually make. And that is it's just another sad sort of
after Aaron, I want to speak.
Coding to what's happening in the country. You may speak, Aaron.
Thank you kindly. I was just gonna say, one of the crazy things I kept seeing the more and more I was researching shit is how similar at times the rates can be. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, this just says all Blacks. What about the separation about this in terms of, say, education? Because not every white person or whatever has a college degree. Or how many of the cats who make up this graph, white or Black, are living below the poverty line? Because I often feel like one of the big issues I'm always seeing is when we say white's this or white that, it's the opinion is we're talking about the affluent whites, the middle class whites who have the nuclear family and all that other bullshit. That's not everybody. I've often wondered, like, just saying just on pure on the race level kind of misses out on the socioeconomics. Like, some of us are below the poverty line. I've been below it, still am until I get fucking hired and start working. A further breakdown I would have just liked to see of, like, how deep does this actually go? I'm sure the disparities are still there. Like,
yeah, I mean, but
I still think Black poverty is different. But yeah,
but I mean, I'm betting that there's a larger percentage of Black people that have poverty than whites, and maybe not total aggregate.
I'm not
but
sure about
in terms of a proportion of the population. Of course, it's not going to be the exact amount because there's more whites than Blacks. You 12 million against what, say,
you have to use
million. But in terms of a percentage of the population, I'm betting that it's going to be more Blacks that are in poverty than whites. In terms of a percentage, not actual number.
I'm not sure about that.
No, that's true.
I'll get the exact numbers.
Percentage wise, as there's more Black folks in poverty, percentage wise compared to white folks, there's more white people in poverty, but it's less of a percentage of white people out of white people that are in poverty as compared to Black folks.
Yep. So,
and we're not like,
also there's a population disparity too. What are we, like 13 million? We're probably more than 13 million people. juxtaposed against the amount of white people there are. Like,
Yeah, that's
there's
because
more than 13 million white people who are below the poverty line.
that's why you got to use percentages. But like, I kind of like, kind of wanted to add to something DJ said about you can kind of attribute that to generational wealth. That's part of it, but like a white male who with a high school degree on average earns more than a black male with a college degree. Like there are other factors that contribute to us not being as financially what's the word I'm looking for, on par with them financially.
Right.
And also the thing with like and this goes to what DJ was saying, as far as generational wealth goes, even the ones of us who have wealth or are working class, we get caught in the crunch of taking care of our parents, maintaining our own stuff, and raising our kids simultaneously.
Yep.
Whereas white folks don't go through that to the same degree as what we go through. So we can't really grow wealth because our wealth is being stretched 3 generations.
Yep. Good point. Good point.
Exactly.
That's been my experience. And I'm still
Exactly. And if you are lucky enough to have any wealth, personal wealth, and you have loved ones who don't, who they calling?
Yep.
Yeah.
Someone needs to be buried.
Yep.
You know, who they calling?
Somebody bought
Me.
a house. Can you give me a few dollars? Yeah, I know. It's true.
DJ,
It's true.
me constantly
And
for
part
years.
of my family, that's been in the last I want to say 5 to 7 years. That's been a significant fight with one of my cousins and aunts, uncles, and other extended family members because he's done well. He's done well for himself. He's been through some stuff. He has to take care of his ex-wife, those kids, his current wife, those kids, and folks want him to take care of grandparents, aunt, uncles, cousins. No, he can't do that crap. So
Yeah,
been
not
certain things in our family that have been like, y'all need to back off, and it's gotten ugly between family members because of that. Like he has
yeah.
to live his life.
And not only that, if he's like my brother, man, your kids can be grown and they still in your pocket.
That's all of us, DJ.
Yeah, that's just how the modern era is. Money does not go as far for everybody. I think I can't say all of us, but I can't say most Americans are feeling the crunch one way or another, unless you are in that top 1% echelon of Americans. Everybody else is feeling it one way or the other.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
Street Librarian, can you tell us more about the Urban League Index? Because, like, I've been thinking about this for years. And I think I've said this before on some of our earlier casts before pre-COVID. It's almost like we need to create an index and we need to figure out the measures where we're comparing where the gaps are between us and the white majority in this country, and how much we are closing certain gaps. Like financial is one. You could do infant mortality, because our rate is still, we still have the highest rate out of any ethnic group, racial group in this country. Like our babies die shortly after birth a lot more than any other group. Why is that? Our
Nutrition.
our mothers die in childbirth, and we know some of that is just medical practices of certain things not being done for our mothers when they are giving birth. Even Serena went through that when when she was giving birth, and she is extremely well.
I think it's a combination of things. I think it is that degree, because what happens is that a lot, it's I forget what the term is, but it's like a form of medical racism. But essentially what happens is that they don't view the pain and the issues that Black women feel in the same way that they might view for a white person. So a white woman says, well, I'm having cramps and pains or whatever, and I go, oh my God, well, we gotta do all these things for you, and really, whereas a Black woman, I'll go, oh, you can just handle it, and I think it's part of it. And then I think you also have to consider poverty, the the lack of money, which means you don't necessarily get the same prenatal care. Like you don't go to the doctor as often to get things, so it's cumulative. It's not just one thing. It's a bunch of things that kind of add into it.
But that grows. You can you don't get the care because those services aren't offered in the community. You might not have transportation to get them. Also, it's historic things where, back in the day we were chattel, so we were viewed as a cow or a mule, not as a human being. So no, you're not in pain. No, I'm not going to give you this. Like, it's different where they see other folks as human beings, and I have to ease their pain, their comfort. I got to do whatever I can to keep this person alive, where the black child might not necessarily at a subconscious level, I'm not going to say conscious level, at a subconscious level might not be seen as a child.
It's crazy.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's like that's another state issue.
That's
one of the other big things I kept saying, state by state, certain states spend a fuck ton of money making sure access is available to them. They literally put the money up for the infrastructure for that shit. State by state, that doesn't happen. Like, there are states where infant mortality rates are very high. Other states, not as much.
So if you did an overlay, and you looked at the U.S. Census data, and you looked at,
I'm not gonna.
No. Hold on a second. And you did an overlay of the states that had higher percentage of minorities and states that were almost homogeneously white. What would that look like? The ones that put money into making sure that people have access, because we know the southern states aren't doing that.
That's what I was getting at.
And that's where, and we know in the Midwest and the East Coast regions of the United States, Black folks are mainly concentrated in the urban areas. Are those resources? So there's ways that you can sift through the data to see if those premises are true. There's ways to do it.
Pretty much summed up what I was getting at. Yeah.
So
I just know I hate it because I keep seeing this as one part a state issue / a city, a town issue, and just how much funding goes into this type of shit. Some places do much better than others. Other places care about putting that effort in. Some places don't. And it sucks.
Comes down to poverty, man.
I fucking hate it. Because like it. I can't force everyone to have my values and shit. That's not how shit works. But I'm just kind of like, if it means keeping people fucking alive, do that shit. Like, that's worth the money to me. But my values.
There are some people for whom it is not worth the money you make. That's the problem. They're just, for some people for whom it is not worth it, the money is more important.
Stop making good points, Mike.
So the Black population of America is 41 million, which makes 13 to 14%. It kind of changes because of so many people from Central and South America migrating. In relation to the wealth gap, I think what that shows is just in the numbers, it is the externality of many small decisions that were made to exclude people of color. And a lot of the people who want to use that wealth gap as a justification for their racism generally will ignore the ways in which the Black community was not allowed to access the same ladders of both social and economic advancement that were open to other people. The wealth gap is like DJ said, a combination of being locked out of being able to pass on intergenerational wealth. It's also being locked out of being able to even join or participate in the professions that have higher incomes. If you want to say in the post-World War II era, a lot of union jobs kind of even in the North and the Midwest, while they never explicitly said it, barred Black people from being able to join, or were driven out. Now, in certain smaller communities, there are so few people that distinction doesn't matter. But when you get up into the cities, you get a lot of people, a lot of white men who don't want to work next to Black men, don't want to live near Black people, don't want to let them live in their neighborhoods. Therefore, they can't use their homes to build wealth. They can't send their kids to schools that have higher funding because of a function of where they are geographically. And then over time, you just sort of end up with a massive population that is trapped in a cycle of poverty in a country that, actively punishes poor people, and specifically punishes Black people. And it's unfortunate, right? Because then you get a few people who do get money, and then everybody in that community wants their money or expects them to lift up the whole community.
Yeah.
Or in the instances where there are good communities, those communities are either burned down in the case of Tulsa, Oklahoma, or many others, stories, communities across the country and across history, or those communities are actively dismantled for social progress. Seneca Village was a free Black community that was dismantled to make Central Park in the 40s and 50s and 60s. What existed of Black neighborhoods were raised in order to make highways. And 100 years, 40, 50 years after the end of Jim Crow, we're still stuck in this cycle. We're all just sort of behind. And
Mike,
there
can I
is
ask a
no
question?
Yeah.
Well, this is not just to you, but to the group, right? I hear. Let me not say that. I've read about the power of the black dollar and how African Americans, we, okay, anybody can correct me, we spend the most.
The black dollar spends like a day circulating within the Black community.
The whole thing with the black dollar versus
drawn out. And
So
that
if
is
we have this buying power, why are we spending more, or we have, than
because there is not an
obtaining?
ecosystem of Black businesses to spend with one another.
Okay.
The places and then the places in which those existed were dismantled.
I got this
or
one
ultimately
after
over
Mike.
time or sold away. Like my father, when he grew up in Chicago, used to live, up the street from the guy that owned, I think, Afro Sheen and all those other Black, hair care products. And eventually that guy lost the business to his ex-wife, who was at that point Asian, and then she ran it for a little while, and then she sold it to Revlon. So we now have like a Black company that is just, unfortunately, that ultimately gets taken out of the Black community in terms of wealth, and then gets absorbed by a larger white conglomerate, so that the only thing that exists is the name now. We had a similar problem with Shea Moisture. Like, it was started by a people of color. For a while it was owned by another larger, white-owned company, and it's since been spun off to be its own thing. We do not have the ecosystem of, and it needs to be a fairly large ecosystem of Black business owners who know and support each other to help circulate the dollars within Black communities. And in the instances where Black people do start businesses, they seem to be majority consigned to like they seem to be kind of caged into like a certain number of things that are acceptable for Black people to do.
I want to speak next.
Yeah.
Oh, I already called next.
Well, I don't care. Y'all can fight it out.
I mean, Mike, you did bring up a lot of amazing points there. I noticed that a lot.
Up, Aaron. Everyone's. I'm joking. Jokingly, I said that's what
I didn't even hear what you said.
I know, because y'all was talking.
I was listening.
I'm fucking with you.
Well, I didn't consent to being fucked with.
That's not how it works, my friend. That is never how it works. I'll shut up. Y'all.
It's okay, Mike. It's all love, man.
I don't know.
I was going to say, one of the things I noticed, especially with like black businesses where I grew up, there's this weird issue always going on where we're not treated as being separate enough. What used to happen, or what is still happening right now, in a majority Hispanic community, there's this separate connection where they go by their original country of origin. When other immigrants would say come into the country, their only business they could actually do business with were other immigrants. So they kind of had to keep the money circulated amongst themselves because they couldn't do business anywhere else. Over time, generations of this kind of made them create their own level of wealth, and they were able to move out of that system. For African Americans, our story is a little bit different because we've been here for so long. And many times we try doing this, we get dismantled. And now we're in a generation where if it's in between seeing me spending, say, buying a pair of pants or whatever the fuck for like $70 in a black neighborhood to support a local business, are just going to fucking Walmart and spending $20, I'm gonna go to Walmart. If going back, say, I don't know what, 50 years, 60 years, there's this idea that if I couldn't walk into a Walmart or a local store, they would discriminate against me. There was this more visible, constant feel of oppression and mistreatment that kind of resulted in us having to pull our resources together. That's
my father used to talk about there was this one major street in Chicago where all of the black retailers and businesses sort of kind of congregated, and it was basically the black equivalent to Michigan Avenue, and all that went away when segregation was effectively ended. And on the one hand, we won this battle. We won this battle where we weren't, shoved off to this sort of marginalized place in society. But at the same time, we lost the necessity of creating an entire parallel black economy. And we've always been trying to recreate that black economy, but it always kind of goes. It's always sort of aimed in the wrong direction. I think, like, there was this group of people. I want to say down in either Texas or Georgia, who bought an old mall and then renamed it the New Black Wall Street, and they just basically made it available to just all black business owners. And like all they did was just open up an old mall and fill it with people who, all they're doing is retail. Like, Black Wall Street wasn't just a shopping center. It was a movie theater and a hotel and an entire thriving community. So on the one hand, you're doing well because you're resurrecting the name of this place, but it's still done fundamentally in the context of a version of capitalism that we don't ultimately control. We don't control that mall, that town. All it is a derelict mall that's been repurposed, and you have to have a car to be able to get out there because that's America. So at the end of the day, like, all it really does serve is it feeds the capitalist beast, and it doesn't really create a new community. It doesn't really go much. I don't think it goes much further. Goes very far in trying to resurrect its namesake. It's just, okay, well, here's another store owned by a black person. Okay, and that's a large problem that a lot of black people have. Like, we don't need any more stores. I think we need black construction companies. I think we need black, plumbers and electricians that work with each other and then congregate in a place and then all sort of build that up. And like, when you need someone to come fix something in your house, you can call any number Black tradesmen. And that's how that money stays in that community. And yes, and then eventually we get back out to stores. We get back out to restaurants. Yeah, go ahead.
Mike, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. Think about something. You know, some people have this thought process that kind of develops, sort of, I don't know what you call it, sort of Black power mindset, sort of Black, Black power, but sort of Black liberation mindset that thinks that the biggest falter that happened in the Black community was the civil rights movement, integration, that Black people would have been further off, maybe with, how can I word this? Maybe would Black people had been more self-sufficient without the civil rights movement? Say we had to have our own places, you have our own Black towns and all, what's called. Say we had to do, you think of, say Harlem, and you think of say like you mentioned Black Wall Street and what's like that. And there was a time where we had to sort of come up with our own devices. And I think perfect example is like, say like the Green Book. Like when we wanted to travel, we had to have our own way of making it across the country. So we had to create our own systems. Do you think that in some ways that integration stymied that? Being that
I think
You jumped in front of me, Todd.
What our effort to assimilate ourselves into white society?
yeah.
Oh,
Do you
no,
think that?
I think it's more complicated. Like Mike said the things that I wanted to say about the aspect of integration and how that I don't want to say, how can I say it? How that sort of slowly dismantled the economic systems where the Black dollar had the Black velocity and it stayed and circulated in our own community multiple times before it left. But that was because it really had nowhere else to go. It had to circulate. We had to build our own infrastructure because we couldn't be a part of the other infrastructure. And part of the promise, going to what Todd said, part of the promise of the civil rights movement that we would be fully integrated, and for lack of a better term, either assimilated or accepted. I'm going to use both of those terms, assimilated or accepted into the greater culture, which that was never part of the plan for the other culture, that we would either assimilate or be accepted. And as a result, we allowed our infrastructure to evaporate, and we are in the predicament we are financially because of that. If we had kept that infrastructure, I think that the financial infrastructure, we would be in a better society-wise, we would be in a better place financially and have more power that way. But would we actually have power in other aspects of society? I don't know.
And that's the thing, right? We could have sidestepped the whole issue of desegregating America, but if we didn't desegregate America, we'd still be relegated to second-class citizenship when it comes to voting rights. Yes. What do we win? Like on the one hand, we had to make America live up to the thing it says it is. But on the other, if we didn't, then sure. I mean, if there is no guarantee that we'd be as economically powerful. They would have they would have to still have noticed there are billions of dollars in the Black community, and because capitalism needs new places to go to grow, there would have been some person, some company that would have been the first to come in there and be like, hey, I want your money. And they would have done what they do now. They would have put a nice face on the corporate branding, and they would have had us all kind of look like, oh, okay, this company look okay, I see you. Is looking to support us, but like you might have ended up in the same situation, but without voting rights and still being required to eat at different lunch counters.
But there's a sad part of our heritage that we can't ignore because, Mike, as you said, and you mentioned, you alluded to your dad and how there was a particular street that had a consolidation of businesses and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We can't ignore the fact, because I'm old enough to remember the riots in the 60s and stuff like that, and what happened as a result of them riots and what communities suffered. And we still do that to this day to a certain extent. I'm saying that's something that we definitely have to, that played a part. We destroyed
Well, because
part of
people
our own communities.
lash out at the things that are around them, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like like you're not gonna all get on a train, and if you're in Harlem and you're fighting injustice, you're not gonna get on a train, unfortunately, and do that demonstration on the Upper West Side because you're just not, right? Because they're not gonna listen to you anyway, and they're certainly not gonna listen to you in your neighborhood.
When I was young, when I was in the 60s riots, when I was growing up, all the stores, like all the corner stores, they were owned by white families and stuff, and nice people. For the most part, nice people. When the riots came, all those places got burnt down or burnt out.
We never
And
recovered.
then black people moved into these and took over these places.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's what happens. I
But
mean, and what makes me sad is the velocity of money that's sort of gentrifying communities of people of color, and we don't have the
yeah,
generational wealth and institutional wealth in order to stand up to that. Aaron really wants to talk. What do you
No,
got?
it's not that. I've been trying to let it all sit and kind of marinate. It kind of reminds me of two different issues. What I've noticed here from like other immigrant families is they come in and after 2 or 3 generations, they either with the way their children think, the way they act, or the way they're saying, they're effectively white by default, are just American in their sensibilities by default.
Yeah.
And one of the things I keep seeing is I kind of feel like in some of these regards, we've got the worst of both worlds. There is a certain, and you alluded to this, there's a certain capitalistic, self-aggrandizing mindset that kind of puts us against each other. And I feel like that makes sense in a very capitalist American mindset. Like, oh, I'm just trying to make my own money. Fuck everything else. And you can use that to justify doing a lot of fuck shit, which doesn't actually gel well with this idea of the fact that we're all going through a lot of the shared experiences as Black people. It's at conflict with each other. From an American standpoint and a capitalist standpoint, not that crazy. Just be like, fuck everything. I'm going to make my money. And I don't care who I target. I don't care about the impact it has. From a Black standpoint, it doesn't work because we all know on some level, I think more so than any other group of Americans, we are aware that we are all in this together. And it always feels like these two ideas are in conflict. And the other idea I keep feeling like, Mike, what are your opinions on the conditions that Native Americans actually feel? Because I feel like the Blacks, the Native Americans, and white people, these are the groups that have been here the longest based on treatment, how things have gone. I just feel like looking at the different groups, looking at the differences can help us better understand what's been going on with us. Because in some regards, I've often thought the Native Americans lost a lot more with getting the assistance from the government.
Well,
There's
no,
been-
they lost. No, they the
They
Native
lost
Americans
way more. They lost their land.
way more.
Yeah,
I think
Um,
more so than land, but please continue.
No, they lost. Look, there's no treaty that the American government ever kept. They like this land. If you use
They could keep the Oklahoma one. That got past the Supreme Court.
hold on a
We'll
second.
have to see.
No, like they, if you use a European mindset, all of this land was theirs. We have treaties and agreements that the American government didn't keep. So basically, if somebody has a contract with you, they break the contract, but they get to keep all of your resources and goods. What do we call that? Stealing. theft, this, that, and the other.
We
So they
call it
lost in.
manifest destiny.
Yeah, I
No.
was gonna say that.
No, but no,
That's
they
a,
also no. Also, just how the populations was decimated, and this documented that different type. I mean, not only was physical warfare used, but like giving diseases, biological, this, that, and the other. They they've had their own. I'm not gonna say it's not a contest. They've had their own just horrific experience in the last four to 500 years. African Americans in this African folks, people of African descent have had theirs in this hemisphere also being brought to a foreign land, whether they were captured, whether they were sold as being prisoners of war from various tribal or nation state conflicts. Like we've had our own. But one group has made sure that it's them. They've had a Roman mentality. We're Roman, and then there's everybody else. We're going to make sure Romans had the idea either you were Roman or you're not Roman. Like they didn't have the whole racial makeup, black, white, whatever. There was Romans. There were Roman. No, like you're a Roman citizen or you weren't a Roman citizen. Like other folks get buy in, but they were like second class Roman citizens. They saw if you were Roman.
Okay, that part I do know to be true about the second class citizens.
Yeah,
But,
you sliding in the whoopee territory now. Easy.
I could slide in the whoopee. Hey,
I didn't want to get too far off.
No.
I wanted to come back.
Just as far as the Romans go, just pick up a book and read. It is what it is.
I'm aware of.
I understand what you're saying. I
understand
what you're saying.
It's just like, my larger point is this: the Native Americans, functionally because of their treaties and contracts, what treaties have been upheld. And you're right. I think I actually did them a disservice by not mentioning the biggest atrocity that has befallen the Native Americans: the full-blown theft of their land. As Native Americans stand today, they exist in a kind of parallel relationship that is quasi-separate, more separate than say we are to the rest of society.
It's not really parallel. It's not like Native Americans are told.
I didn't get to. Wait, I got to get to my point because I want to get to my point so I can get the feedback. Sorry, I'll say this and then I'll shut the fuck up. I keep feeling as if, as separate as they have been with their reservations, their separate group of laws that run parallel, it often led to a large sense of them not being as integrated into society. Yeah. And to an extent, that could have also been us. I brought this up in the podcast last time, how there's a large instance of Native American women being abducted and it never getting reported on the news. That's because, like, the modern day news will have a much higher chance of talking about Black women going missing than Native American going missing because of integration. I'm not arguing that it's better. I just think it's worth discussing and exploring how different the two types of integration can be.
This sovereign designation help and hurt them.
Well, I don't
elaborate.
It's different. No, their sovereign designation is different. Like they're sovereign nations, but they're not really sovereign because they still, the United States government basically can still tell them what to do and what not to do. When they had sort of their resistance moments in the late 60s and the early 70s, and they fought back, plenty of Native American men went to jail, convicted of crimes where the government, in their cases, Leonard Peltier, the government said, we don't know if he did or did not kill somebody, but somebody has to pay, and he gets convicted. No evidence, just that argument. This was a bad thing that happened. He got to go to jail because he's the one that we caught and he's the one that we're charging. I don't know if Todd, you remember the somewhat recent Behind the Bastards podcast where they talked about the Portland Highway Patrol or the Oregon, I can't remember. Yeah, the Oregon Highway Patrol and one of the Native American reservations there where they consistently pull over confiscate, harass Native American folks as they're coming in and out of the reservation.
Is that the episode about talks about Portland, about how it's
Yeah.
set up, how Oregon was set up to be a whites only state and all? Yeah,
Yes,
it's interesting. Yeah.
So it's just different. We have two different ways of managing two different populations that weren't, to use what I said earlier, not Roman. We have the indigenous folks that were here. We have the ones that we brought here. The ones that were here, we isolated them in a geographic region, told them that they could kind of do their own thing, but they, on the regions that we put them on, we took them from lands that were self-sustaining, and we basically put them on lands that we thought they were going to perish and die, but they figured out a way to survive and maintain their culture in a way that they would slowly die off over time.
They also get stipends from the government from it.
No, I know, but you get stipends from a government, but if your population is decreasing, African American populations have been basically
steadying.
Stagnant. No, stagnant in 400 years. There's a reason for that. Other folks, other minorities can immigrate and come over here, and their populations can grow. But there's concerted efforts to keep.
I'll just, I think that's again, poverty, quality of life. Most immigrants, when they come in, they don't stay at that poverty level. They get out of it, and then
there's policies to keep. There's policies to keep certain groups in poverty, and there's also a mindset of
what policy is keeping me in poverty?
No, hold on a second.
Aaron, let him finish.
There's also a policy to pit groups against one another as long as they don't challenge the white authority. Don't think there's not a plan once the white population drops below 50%, that they don't have a plan of how they can continue to govern this country when they are less than the majority. Like they've been ever since the 70s, when they realized the population growth of certain minority groups, that they weren't going to be they weren't going to have the preponderance of the vote, meaning more than 50%. And they've been doing things to kind of slow down, consolidate power, change voting laws so that they can still be in control as a minority. We're going through it right now. We're at a critical point right now with the Voting Rights Act.
So anyone else have any other differing or supporting opinions? Nothing but a G thing, unpopular. Are you just changing your name just on the fly?
I'm trying to remember who unpopular is.
He'll tell you who he is. He's unpopular.
What's up, fellas? Sorry,
what's going on?
What's up?
What's up, man?
What's going on? What say you about the state of Black America? What say you? What's
the state of Black America? You just talk economics, and because I joined the discussion, economics and
just talking economics, birth rate, education, historical issues, integration versus segregation, lots of stuff.
Yeah, okay. Which cross the board, but whichever you feel is the most relevant point you want to say. What say you?
I guess, from a history standpoint, I guess there's a lot to talk about from a history standpoint. I guess I like, focusing maybe on what can be changed going forward, so the Black community's in a better position. And I think a lot of that probably would be economics. From an economic standpoint, what can we do so we have a little bit more power from an economic standpoint? And I don't know what we can do, but maybe brainstorm on some things that we can do to maybe put ourselves in a better position as a whole. And I don't know. I think for me, my parents are from the islands, right? So I'm actually a first generation American, right? And I don't know if you guys touched on immigrants or not.
Briefly, yeah.
Oh, okay. And it's just from my mindset, or not my mindset, but kind of my family mindset, or especially in the islands, it never is necessarily a race thing. It's more economics, right? There's a lot of separation that is based on economics, right? But it's not based on race, right? So the mindset of, at least with my family and a lot of people I know from the islands, was we kind of knew, what white people are to a certain extent. Not all white people, but we kind of have an idea of who white people are, and it doesn't necessarily stop us from going forward. And I'm not saying that happens with African Americans. I'm just saying from an island standpoint, we kind of know what they are. We know that there's a certain portion of them that are racist and are bigoted and those type of things. But there was also a thought that America was a place where if you worked hard and you did what you were supposed to do, that you could still make it, even though there were things in place that, based on the color of your skin, that would kind of hamper that, or kind of slow that down, right? But I don't know how to describe it, but go ahead.
I had I read an interesting article a couple of days ago about how about immigrants. It's kind of about immigrants. They're using sort of immigrants from Jamaica, and how they came to America, and how they, at one point, they didn't consider themselves as Black Americans. They're so separate from Black Americans. And one of the things that they were saying was that how can I what was the word I was thinking of? It is that we talked about this earlier a couple weeks ago, Popular, about how when immigrants come up to this country, they come over here. A couple of things that I think about it. They come over here. A lot of times they come over with a different mindset. Their mindset is success, and they come with a lot less meager circumstances than the Black Americans. A lot less entitlement.
Hey, can I say something, Todd? Hey,
Yeah.
and I know I don't ever chime in much, right? So first of all, good evening, fellas. I'm a little bit late, but that's all right. Better late than never. But I'll piggy on what Les just was saying. I think, and speaking as an immigrant myself, right, in that term, that came here, as a young Black male from Jamaica, right, into different culture. I think the part of the difference is, if I were to say from a Black American perspective versus from a West Indian or African perspective, and my wife is Black American, right? So full disclosure, I love my Black American people. Is that there is a sense of there's a different level of self-worth that from a really, really early age, even though you're poor in the Caribbean or in Africa, is you see yourself as valuable. I'm just broke and poor, and you see America as an opportunity, so that when you come here, no matter what bullcrap you get from white person or Black people or whoever, you have a different mindset. You never think of yourself as less than. I used to think earlier on, man, why is my Black American brothers and sisters kind of seem to struggle with that concept? And then, I don't know, I was talking to someone a while back, and they said, if you think about this, and in anyone, the way you treat people from early on, and Black Americans who have fought to allow all the other Black and brown people to benefit, but unfortunately are from a really, really early age taught to first feel like you're less than, have to dig out of that first before they can even start the fight elsewhere. And if you, and I know I'm long-winded, but to take this a little bit further,
go ahead.
If you think about this, if you take two West Indian people and we bump into each other somewhere, we are proud to be around each other. I don't see him as less than. There's a sense of community in that I think Black America started to had for a while during parts of slavery, had for a while during the civil rights movement, and then white America recognized that and start to put things into a way that kind of tears that. So that sense of community that West Indians, that Africans tend to have, that sense of self-worth, that sense of you are as valuable is something that I think that Black America in general struggles with. I'll pause there for a second, but that's just a little bit.
You know what? I
Thank you,
totally
Dave,
agree with you.
because in the era that I grew up in, I can relate to everything that you said because it was there for a while and then stuff happened and it got degraded. It was weird.
The
Where I went to
80s.
college, I took 7 years off between undergrad and grad school. And when I went, there was that sense when I was there in undergrad. When I went back to grad school, it was so weird. Like Black folks wouldn't even like look you in the eye or acknowledge you as you was passing each other on campus. And that was totally different. Like we used to talk, hang out, connect, help, and support one another when I was there undergrad. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. And I went to the exact same university for undergrad and grad school.
You know what?
Did that happen during the 80s? I just wanted to ask.
Late 80s, early 90s.
You know what?
That counts.
I entirely, I really agree with you, Dave. Remember, we were discussing a point earlier one time that I want to bring up that you brought up. I meant to call you about earlier, but I'm glad you brought that point up because I really think that with Black Americans, and I use my case myself as an example, and like, you know, this country pulls a number on you psychologically. You know, you don't think about it every day. You know, Black people, we have all this money, we have all this pride, we do all this other stuff, but you know what though? You think about the systematic factors that were done to us. Okay, slavery, okay, Jim Crow, all sorts of incarceration, all these other things, right? But then on top of that, you had the whole psychological aspect, minstrel shows, how we're visualized, the songs, everything. Everything that's pointed at us is pointed that you're less than. So, and I use myself as an example. It took me, I don't know how long to kind of just to realize, to just shake off this feeling that, you know what, the white man's water isn't as cold as black man's water, you know? And I mean, not that I didn't know it cognizantly on an intelligent level, but it's just that you always, you grow up thinking that, you know what, you're not as good. And they can always do it better, and you're always not as good. You have to, it's fighting through that. And to me, that's the biggest trick in anything you could have done. You know what I mean? Having that pride in your country and belief in yourself. You know what? I may be poor, but you know what? No, I know that my people, we you know, in my country, there are people who are doctors and lawyers and whatever, and they achieve things, and they're in every stratosphere of the country. Whereas, you know, in America, you go to hood, you never see someone that's in your position. You always see people that that's like you in the lowest parts, and it takes generations to break out of that mind state. I mean, and I really think that people don't really recognize the power that it has over so many people. You know,
and we've been in this country for about 25 to 30 generations.
Yep.
So all of this stuff, like immigrants, you might be first generation. So it's not 25 to 30 generations of just being conditioned that you're this, you're that, it's different. So you can have a higher sense of self-worth on average than other folks who have been dealing with this for 25 to 30 generations. It's different. And as Todd said, in your own country, you just have the gambit of folks from poor to wealthy, from professional to not professional to work. Like it's all there. So you see and you participate in your own countries and your own nations across the board at all levels. Whereas Black folks for 25, Black Americans for 25 to 30 generations have only been able to go so far.
Exactly. How much have we really progressed even since the signing of the Civil Rights Act? We're not even talking about going back. Yeah, we made some progress after the Emancipation Proclamation. There was some, but even how much have we really progressed? But you think about it. Black billionaires probably came in the last 10 years
in America.
In the last 10 years, the guy Johnson from BET probably was the first one, and he goes a little further. But if you think about it, then think about those people now who are Black billionaires, Oprah's, the Tyler Perry's, the Michael Jordan. What is their profession? Entertainment. We talk about that net worth and that generational wealth and stuff. A difference is when we sit down at the table. Well, I don't even know if we have family dinners anymore. Sit down, the whole family get together anymore, or anything like that. They have a conversation about when the conversation says someone that has that wealth have with their children, they might be talking the Wall Street Journal. You know, they might be talking hedge funds. That's not the kind of conversation we have, if we even have dinner with each other.
Because most of us are poor, man.
I hear your point. I think a lot of it is like, you know, it's like a game, and I think what happens is, in you know, the people who are in power in this country have all the rules. They have all, you know, they have the full book of rules to make it, and we get a page, and we got to figure out how to make it through the game. You know what I mean? And that's what we're doing. And maybe one day we get another page, and we go, "Oh yeah, you know what? You can do this." And we're constantly always behind, in many cases, white folks.
Yes. To that point, and David's, because this has been, David, a lot of what you said has been a bit of a personal trend that I've been seeing nonstop since I was like 15, 14, talking with families that were from Jamaica, the West Indies, people who were from Ghana, people who were from India. I kept seeing this, and after a while I picked up on it. Like, I started asking, why do the immigrants, like, I keep seeing some of the most hardest working people I've ever met were from other countries. And if they didn't make it in that first generation, their kids did. I just kept seeing it as this issue of, it's not so much about, because one of the factors that do work against us and everybody is not having systemic advantages and trying to succeed in spite of certain disadvantages, lots of disadvantages, in fact. At one point, it just kind of seems like the attitude I kept seeing was, yeah, this sucks, let's get to work. And I've just seen a lot of people succeed from that. It's
they
like,
come from a different level of poverty, bro.
Right.
Well, no, and
they come from a different level of poverty.
My brother,
Yep.
no, my
no,
brother.
I was going to say,
go ahead. Let they speak. Let they speak.
When you say a different level of poverty, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I think I was about to say there is no place poorer. I can think of some place in Jamaica or in Antigua or in the Caribbean that America has no level. There's poverty at the next level. So it's not about where you're coming from.
I believe that much.
But
yeah.
It's not about where you're coming from, right? I think part of the difference is folks from other parts of the world when they come here, it's not about your current situation. It's about where you're going. And not even if you're going there, but where the next generation is going. Where are you going to send your kids? So, you know, to DJ's point earlier when he said, hey, you know, when the rich white dudes are sitting around the table, they're talking about hedge funds. That's okay. That's true, right? But we don't necessarily need to talk about hedge funds to be progressing, right? We need to be talking about progression to be progressing. And so that means it's like saying to my kids in front of you, hey, you got to make sure you go do your homework. And here's why you need to do that. We need to start with small changes, because part of the challenge is we're looking at what we don't have and trying to make one big giant leap. You just said, Todd, right? They only give us a piece of the playbook. Then you need to look at, some of us will not be around to experience what's going to happen, but we have to put in the seed work to make sure that the generations behind us are going to succeed. And part of the challenge for us is we struggle with not being able to be part of the celebration.
Yeah.
And we have to start thinking beyond us in this process.
Yeah. And we can't let these people tell our school, these people in the education say you're going to take away advanced math, advanced English, comprehend, and so that our kids can pass, bro. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, I want to say something. The town that I work in, a lot of my coworkers are immigrants from the islands of color, and immigrant communities, they pull their resources together way more than
Yeah.
uh, than African Americans do. I remember I was talking with one of my coworkers, and
Regular ass
she's
American
Jamaican.
for that matter.
No. She was Jamaican, and she was telling me like where she lives, like it's mainly Jamaican folks. They have sort of a collective, and each month each family contributes a certain
Contribute
amount of
money.
money
Yeah.
into a fund, and then they use that to buy
Yeah.
homes, cars, this, that, and the other. And it was like it was a surreal moment for me because I couldn't even comprehend anything
Yeah.
like that in my experience,
Because doing so
growing
is
up.
almost un-American.
No. It's not that it's un-American. Just the fact that people could cooperate at that level that were dark skinned like I was. Like
Alex,
it was.
we have
It,
the
it
same
I've
was
thing.
made
just,
this point.
We do the
many
same. We do the
times.
same thing. We do the same thing too, Alex. You know what it's called? It's called a
What?
Ponzi scheme. Someone just takes the money and runs off with it. So
no,
it
but
happens.
they actually
Eventually.
no,
I've
it's not a
made this
Ponzi
point.
scheme. No, it's
No,
not
I
a
get you.
Ponzi scheme.
I'm
I'm
just
like,
joking.
no.
It's called a part.
Why are you driving a Benz, this, that, and the other, and you like a mid-level, like
Hey!
no, but that's the reason why, because it's the collective effort. But there is a I wanted to respond to something what like David said, like the sense of self-worth is hard when how can I put this? Like you never for 25 to 30 generations, like black folks in this country basically were told you can't move. It's a caste system. You're stuck in this role. Whereas if you're an immigrant from another country, you can come here with the promise, with the in America, you can be whatever you want to be. You can have the American dream. After 25 to 30 generations, we have at a subconscious level and have kind of subconsciously internalized, unless you had strong parents, that the American dream isn't for us. Like my parents was no. My parents was like, no, like the whole self-worth thing, like you're just as good as everybody else. I got that from my parents, but I'm saying that the majority of black folks in this country didn't get that. And I think the majority of the people on this cast that's African American, we got that from folks in our family.
You
I
get
didn't
that,
get that from my family. I
but
literally
again,
got that from some of the members of this group, some of the other people I knew who were immigrants from other countries. I've literally been going at my life from the perspective of, oh, I'm like an immigrant because I'm not staying. Even with the conversations I do have with my family within the last couple of years has been more about we have to move, or we have to pull our resources. We have fuck all. We need to really work together and concentrate what little we have. And I keep even feeling like I had to explain this to some of my friends in class once, like this. I'm in the same position that your grandparents were in when they were immigrants. They moved in, worked their ass off, and moved, and they started up their families. And I'm like, I'm literally trying to do the same thing here. Because if I don't, it's not going to happen.
Abstract.
It could be hard, it could be impossible. I don't give a fuck. It's going to be what it's going to be. And I don't see any other path for success that I have some control over. I can't control everything, but I can control myself.
Abstract. I said it on previous casts, like pre-COVID. In African American community, there's a concept, fictive kin, and it's due to slavery when you can be sold off and be from one plantation to another plantation, and folks take you in and they make you part of their family. Family's not genetic. Family in life, you are fictive kid. You are family to me. You are family. And you got it from family. It might not have been biological family, that you are something worth something you need to achieve. It is what it is. And we don't need to lose that sort of attribute that came from a very painful place of slavery, that folks that we're not genetically related to, we can make them a part of our family. It's a good thing.
You know, a lot of us, if we hopefully, get a decent job and able to buy a home. A lot of us, we look to move out of the community we grew up in. If we grew up in an urban environment, we want to move out in the suburbs to make sure that our kids have a better education. When we move into these suburbs, the taxes that we pay, the municipal taxes or taxes that are allocated through the state government, their funding goes into their education. It goes into a better lifestyle in that particular town or city. When you grow up in an urban environment in the cities, we may get a lot more funding, but that funding goes out to a whole bunch of every other things, social services for drugs. You even have people from suburbs, they don't have the drug facilities. They come to Hartford to get those drugs, their whatever needs they have to address their drugs and stuff. We don't have the money. People talk about our schools. In Baltimore, 3% of children in their grade are 3% of the students are able to test at their grade level. 3%. That's
the quality education in those areas.
Well, that's
That's
no. I think
crazy, bro. And you
no,
want to take away advanced math, English composition, just so this child can go to the next grade because they're probably 15 years old and a freshman.
DJ, it's a lot more
It's
complicated
crazy.
than that. It's a lot more complicated than that. Like, and I can tell you, the towns and cities, the urban areas in the state of Connecticut, and I'm pretty sure it's like this in all of the other states in America that have large groups of minority and urban areas. They understand the budget and what they need to operate the schools. They are underfunded every year, year after year. The school in the town in which I work, the school system, I'm going to say over the last 10 years, the state of Connecticut has probably underfunded that town by 60 to 70 million dollars. Where street librarian is at last 7 or 8 years, estimated, because I used to live in that town, estimated I'm going to say 30 to 50 million. So if you're not funding them, and because of economic reasons, they don't they don't have the tax base to fully fund their education, and the state does not step in and fully fund them, of course they're taking away programs and educational curriculums that our kids deserve, and I'm going to say is a right that they should have. They're taking them away, and they're getting the bare minimum. And it's not necessarily local leaders. It's more of a fact that resources aren't being allocated to address the need. Because all of a sudden, when it comes to educational funding, it's about equity, even though let's just say Greenwich, which probably doesn't need one state of Connecticut tax dollar, they're still getting funded. Right. And their political leaders doesn't want to spend don't want to spend the tax, the collected tax from the Connecticut citizens and distribute them to the urban areas. It's not right.
Yeah.
Every kid
Another
needs a
reason
fair
why
opportunity.
I'm making it a big point to move out of the hood. I need to give, when I have kids, I need to give them the best shot they got that they can have.
And a lot
I don't
of
like that system
people
either.
make that decision. And I'm not gonna say it. You got to make a personal decision for yourself. I'm not gonna say that is neither right nor wrong. You can stay in your own community, fight that struggle, do whatever you can to make sure your kids have a quality education, do enrichment, do tutors, whatever. You can do what you want to do, or you can move to another district where they have a more
Poorest areas in any country, and I do mean this, in any country, are always the place that gets screwed the hardest, racially or otherwise. The reason I kept talking about the methadone clinic in regards to what's going on in New Hallville, because that is the historic Black area I'm from. That is where my grandfather originally lived, where most of my family is from. I don't want to actually leave the area. There is a strong Black community there. There's a lot there that I would love to stay. Not worth it. I'm going to do what I can in regards to the fight with the methadone clinic in the area, but overall, I'm not getting a house there.
In the state of Connecticut, once they establish these safety nets for whatever reason, and they create nonprofits or whatever to deal with any to manage these safety nets and money that is allocated, there's no going back from that. What you can't take it away. If a politician says, "Look, the taxes coming in, we need to eliminate some of the spending," that's political suicide to somebody. Once it's established, it's established.
I mean, there's ways that they do it, DJ, to use education, for example, in the urban areas. Chef versus O'Neill. There's just an article and post about that. I think who said that? Who put that in the
It might have been me.
Yeah, but that was for racial disparity. What came out of Chefs versus O'Neill was basically the Connecticut Charter School Network, which takes funding from public schools and says we're going to give kids in urban areas the chance for a quality education. So we're going to open up these schools that are not regulated. You can have somebody who just graduated high school being a teacher, because I know folks who had withdrawn their kids from charter school and put them back in public school because their teacher was an 18 or 19-year-old kid that was in a charter school that was teaching at the charter school hired. But anyway, you take money out of the public school system, you give it to these charter schools. The charter schools are a lottery system, and then they have sort of like sibling stuff. If you have a sibling, then you can get in. Instead of providing equity for urban schools, they created a system where they said this school is better than the schools in this area, and then not all of y'all are going to be able to get it. It's going to be a lottery for it. So you're still fighting among scraps among the population of these urban areas just to have a better opportunity. They're not making all the schools in the urban area on par with the other schools within the state. So it's still a way to make folks, appease people, to make them feel better, to feel like they have an opportunity to have a better education, but it's only a very small percentage to do that.
Yeah, it's not total school choice. Matter of fact, Ms. Chef went to my church, and librarian, her son ended up going to Eastern Connecticut State University.
Got all ECSU?
Can I say something? I'm gonna throw something really radical out there. All right, and maybe it's not radical, but if you said to me, "How do we fix the community? How do we fix schools and all of that?" Forever we've been throwing money at schools, right? But I consider schools, if you think of it this way, I think first, before we can have kids ready for learning, is they need to be coming out of communities that are supporting their ability to learn. So no matter if you throw money at the schools, we need more schools, we need better schools, we need better computers, we need this, but the kid is up all night long. There's no parents in the house. There's no preschool care for the mom.
Playing video games.
There's no
David.
There's a plethora of crime. That kid is not going to learn no matter how much money you spend. So honestly, if I have $1, first I've got to shore up the community, right? Before you can shore up.
Exactly.
David.
How many kids got them free laptops? How many kids got them free laptops staying home during COVID and was actually
a lot
studying?
Actually, that was one of the biggest issues in New Haven. Most of the area didn't go to school.
Yeah, but I think
how many kids start school who can't read, don't know their basic colors, don't know their numbers, like
and their parents are doing what in this scenario?
No, but that's the issue.
That's
where
part of the problem.
You go to other communities, they start school with a certain set of basic skills
because their parents do
that. No. That's what David was saying.
That's what he's saying.
That's
a community problem.
It's
a fact that
That's
these
what
kids.
David
You
was
have
saying.
That's kind of
let me speak.
core of what my issue
Go ahead.
is.
You have all these kids that start school and they're from poor communities and their infrastructure is just wrong. It's just bad. You know, you have a parent that I don't know that's drug addicted. You have a parent that works to their job and isn't able to watch their kid. You know, those things affect a kid that comes to school. I was watching the show about teachers, something on YouTube, and they had this kid that didn't have that was homeless. You know, how do you expect to learn if you're homeless? You know what happens. I mean,
you don't. We did that on and off for a few years when we were growing up. My grades tanked.
And I mean, I mean, it's easy to say, hey, let's pour all this money and give the kids laptops. You know, that's nice. But if I don't have anything, but if I don't have Wi-Fi and have a laptop, that doesn't help. Or if I don't, or if I don't have anyone that encourages me to study or keeps telling me to do my work, you know.
And there's a balance. I'm always going to make this argument that as a society, we should do everything in our power to make sure that those who are living in poverty have the access, education. We should do as much as we can so that there's social mobility to make sure that poverty in America is not as bad as, say, poverty in other places.
Mm-hmm.
But fundamentally, a lot of the issues that we are describing are functions of said poverty. Parents that are not making the time for their children probably have other issues that are feeding into the quality of their lives and their children's lives.
I'm old school, bro. I'm old school. I've been in the clubs, man, when I know somebody's a single mom and she's hanging out to the club clothes, and so her kid is watching her kids.
What would you do if your son was at home crying all over the bedroom floor because he's hungry? I fucking hate a lot of the music that describes so much of my fucking life. Because some version of that is always going to exist. I don't have a more polite way to put it that doesn't sound amazingly fucked up. Because I'm still always going to say we should do things to make sure poverty isn't as bad, but flat out, I think the actual trick is to not do what you can so you do not end up staying below the poverty line. Do what you can to get out of that situation and make sure that we say.
I don't know if.
Go ahead, David.
I was just saying, it sounds so easy, right? It's easier to say,
I know it's not easy. But I know.
And think, but it's again, it's a structural challenge, right? Like mental health is a challenge in the Black and brown community, and we can talk about where it came from. It's just continuous oppression, and then on top of that, mama's mama had drug problems and everything, and so we produce people who are the symptoms of the problem, right? But you cannot solve it if you don't first fix the community. You don't first fix mental health challenges, right? You don't create, like we joked about, pre-care and aftercare programs, right? You don't make sure kids are eating. I remember when I was mentoring years ago, but and I would be in the classroom with the kids, or a couple of kids that I had, and these were like second graders at the time, and they were he was telling me, I was watching Gangland, and I'm like, remember those Dr. Series Gang?
Yep.
And I'm like, but that comes on at like 11, 12 o'clock at night. Yeah, but I was home. It was just me and my sister. DJ said it early,
Oh, he wasn't supposed to tell you he was home alone. He broke rule number 1.
You know what I mean? But as we were saying, the problem is bigger than funding of schools, man. It is, and we look around a lot. A lot of people end up in jail. It's really misdiagnosed. There's a lot of misdiagnosed brothers and sisters out there. When we tell them just go do better, they can't do better. It's because they don't have the foundational skills to do better. So when Biden throws money at the problem so you can secure votes, and I'm not going to political realm. I'm not talking about whether you're for
that can of worms.
I think we all knew what you meant.
It's a short-term solution because I'm continually giving you a fish and not teaching you how to fish. And then here we are the result of throwing money at situations is now we have this ridiculous inflation that the same people you were supposedly helping are now worse off in some ways. So we have to step back. Nobody wanted to hear the argument that, probably rather than throwing money at that, rather than giving dudes in prison checks, okay, rather than giving dudes who haven't worked in years checks, how about we sit back and talk about how to really funnel that money to make sure that the community was propped up in the right way, that they can start to fish going
Mutual
forward.
aid. Didn't I bring that up? Didn't I bring that up this week? Mutual
Yes,
aid.
you did.
Didn't
Yes,
I
you
bring
did.
that up?
We talked about this a lot.
It's a challenge, man.
Not
And I know
everybody got a shit against
You have to, you got to
Let me say this
incentivize
about
the
education.
right behavior into people. Unfortunately, there are people who you can give them all the fish in the world and they would rather die of starvation. They are not failing
They
for
live for
lack
the
of
moment.
social security.
No,
They're
but
not
this is
failing
They
for
live
lack
for
of
the day.
opportunities. They are failing for of their own volition, which has
part of the
been one of the
problem.
most hardest things I've seen. There are
Part of the-
those that fail because they don't get help. There are others that fail because they do not want to try.
Part of
Yeah,
the
but
problem with education has been in this country, we've allowed education to become a business. And what I mean by that is basically when I was a kid, like it, education wasn't complicated. There was it was drill and kill, it was repetition, memorization, this, that, and the other. Now every 3 to 5 years, it's a new method of how to learn math. Like math is kind of basic. Like you learn your timetables, memorize certain things, learn how to do step-by-step process, and you will be okay in math, or you will be good in math.
But what
Like
they teach is
you don't need
digressing.
the
They're
Singapore
taking it
method,
away.
you don't need the Beijing method. Like let's just get back to basics.
You mean new
And
math?
yeah,
So
like
we should they shouldn't
how they
learn
have kids
algebra.
do multiplication and solve problems. Like I can't even help my own kids. Oh no, that's wrong. Because if I don't do it the way that I've been taught, I'm not going to get full credit. Huh? You got the right answer? Yes.
Two plus
I've
two,
never
two
met
plus
a
two
teacher
don't
who
equal
likes how we
2
teach
plus 2
kids.
don't equal 4.
college. So guess what? Guess what's the 21st century ripoff of black people is college. And I'm speaking to a brother, and and you're speaking to a brother.
Overrated.
I'm not against college, but what I want to say is they've sold us on this. You have to go to college to be successful and to progress your family and generations. So guess what? A lot of black people are coming out of college with social studies degrees that can't do a thing with those degrees.
Exactly.
And they have to spend more money and more debt. Meanwhile,
I think it's more the debt than the degree.
You go to community college, to a technical community college.
But meanwhile, right, there are a lot of jobs as plumbers and electrician and HVAC
community
that
college.
are absolutely. And so here's what's happening.
I went to community college.
We remove all of the trades from the city schools and tell everybody to go to college when they're not even prepared to finish high school. And then we put those jobs, those trades back into the suburban schools, that they can now get the new manufacturing jobs at Electric Boat, and we're busy trying to send their kids. So we got to stop and think back to ourselves. Oh my gosh, what are we trying to accomplish here, man? Because I tell my son this. I tell my wife this all the time. Listen, I'm not against my son going to college or my daughter, right? But I want to make sure that they understand the fullness of opportunity. Because my plumber, when he comes to fix something in my house, or my electrician, it ain't cheap, man. And he didn't have that I had when I came up.
When I was in school, you took carpentry and stuff like that in high school. You had a carpentry
Was that
class.
during the Stone Age, DJ? Did they even
we had metal shop and wood shop
then?
and stuff like that back in the day.
Yeah, they had wood shop in the 90s. Yeah.
My
Sorry.
brother-in-law's
Sorry.
It was 80s for me, bro. 80s.
Yeah.
my brother-in-law's an electrician, and he says he retired very nicely. Very nicely. He made tons of money over his years being an electrician.
You can always make money on the side.
And you still make money on the side.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the best thing he ever did coming out of the Marines when he left the service is that he studied to be an electrician.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do think and I use my again I use myself as an example. I was part of that generation that was drilled in their head that you need to go to college to get a good job. And and not nothing against it. It's I can't say it hasn't worked out for me. Yeah, I'm doing all right, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. I
No,
think
it's
that's a
definitely
really
not.
I don't know
it's
if
a
I
really
came
big
in at the
misnomer.
right time.
Oh, what's up,
What's
Leon?
up,
up,
Leon?
Leon? Happy
What's
birthday,
up?
bro.
Happy birthday, man!
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yo, hey, but you know what?
Y'all talking about not sending
I
your
think
kids
our
to
children,
college.
I think our children from the hood would appreciate them technical going in to learn them technical skills, how to be a mechanic, fix your car,
Yep.
and stuff like that, more than they
No,
would
as
learning algebra.
Place.
no, as David was saying, those opportunities have been taken away from a lot of kids in urban areas, in the hood, however you want to phrase it. In the town that I work, like the brightest kids are going to the vocational schools. And then the ones who, are average students or low average students, they can't get in. They can't get in.
To a community college, a
Not
technical
a community,
community
no,
The
no,
college.
no,
technical
to a
schools become like
vocational
a
high
vocational
school,
high school. Yeah.
to a vocational high school. So they can't even get that initial foundation at the high school level to do what they need to do to go on to get an apprenticeship in a trade, or go to a
But they should be
whatchamacallit.
able to get into a technical community college.
Yeah. But like if your application is going to be viewed a lot differently than somebody that went to the high school of a vocational school.
Yeah. You only
Well,
can accept so many.
Go ahead, Leon.
You
You
can
want
only
to say something?
accept
Speak
so
on it,
many.
I was gonna
Leon.
say I taught my kids how to fix cars and how to fix stuff, how to help me do things around here that needed to be done, because we definitely did. I did it to save money. So I mean, I love DIY crap, but both my sons are in college. My son is a mechanical / nuclear engineer major in his third year, and my other kid is computer science. So that's what they wanted to do. And my kid who's an engineer, he does a little bit of. I told him to be an architect, but he didn't. He didn't really want to. He wanted to do engineering ever since he was little. So you can't not go to college and get what they got, or getting. You know what I mean? He can't get a. Where are you gonna get a He can't get an engineering degree out of high school.
No, we're not saying not go to college, but we need to have a breadth of opportunities for our kids to be financially stable.
I think the
Well,
argument is
there's
a lot more
probably a
Hey, listen,
nuanced.
conversation.
I think the
I'll
argument is a
say
lot
this.
more nuanced than go to college
Yeah,
and be
no,
successful, or not go to college and be a bum.
not just
I
that.
got
It's
you.
far more nuanced than that.
I mean, I
Start
got
by
you because I'm
finishing
an
high school.
accountant. I'm an accountant, and if I had thought about it, I think I even talked to you about this, Todd. Like, I had an opportunity to become a BMW mechanic, and I think about that sometimes. Like, it would probably be less stressful being a BMW mechanic, and I'd probably be making the same amount of money as I am being an accountant.
Exactly, and
You know?
personalities.
I
Personalities.
got I
You
got
gotta-
my
you gotta-
degree.
Yeah, you gotta
My
assess.
degree. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying you gotta assess. Not every child is going to be a nuclear engineer or an MBA. You gotta stop and assess, because what happens is we set our kids up for failure and think either
Yeah.
you go to college or you're nothing.
Right.
Right? It's
Yeah,
about
exactly.
assessing. Yeah, just
Exactly.
to kind of say, here's your
My
best.
parents didn't even want me to go to college.
Exactly.
Because honestly, if I sit back now and look at my own self, right, and I think, had you given me just kind of let me see a little bit more, I probably wouldn't have been sitting in corporate America somewhere with an MBA trying to play the corporate game that we all get caught up in.
Yeah.
I probably would have went to a different discipline.
Hey, Dave, listen, I graduated with a business degree with a major in economics and data processing. I was lucky enough 2 months before I graduated, because I was an RA, that Eastern Connecticut State University hired me as a residential director to run the biggest apartment complex they had at the university. I did that for 10 years.
Shout out to Arkham Hall.
That's where I met Todd.
Yeah.
So I worked for the state I work for the state, and despite my degree, I've been working my whole professional life with nothing that has to do with the degree I got. I've been in human services all my life. And fortunately, human services like the Department of Social Services, like education, if I had probably went into the insurance company, and that insurance company, I worked there for 10 years, they decide, okay, we gotta lay people off because our bottom line is more important than anything. Man, who knows what would have happened?
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
I also don't want to totally, as the resident person that's still in college and being suckered into this, I don't think that
Man, you getting your doctorate. You're doing the right thing. Shit.
but so what I'm saying is that, I don't think college in itself is bad. I think it's
choosing the right major.
It's getting into choosing a major is important, but I also think going into it with the right mentality. If you go into a thing, I'm gonna make a lot of money going to college. When I started college,
majoring in women's studies may not get you a good job.
Right, but
whatever you major in women,
it may not. DJ, but you know what? It may not, but you know what? If you're really into women's studies and you really apply yourself to that degree, you might have to do something with it. Whereas
I think
let me finish. Whereas
if
you measure,
Todd, closing the loop on that conversation, I'm just saying it's one of the fingers of choice.
Right.
When a young man is trying to decide the life, where he or she is going, a young man or a young woman is trying to decide the next stage in life, college should be one of the options to evaluate, along with the military, along with, trade school, not just one thing. That's all.
Right.
I did both.
Right.
I did
think
both.
you
So
know
I did
your
the
kid.
military, and I worked through the National Guard. So I God, somehow somebody looking over me and gave me choices that I'm benefiting from right now in my retirement.
But it's like for my
say
kids,
that college is not the gold standard for success, and that's what we were taught in our generation.
Right.
Our parents thought they didn't want us working physical labor.
Physical labor jobs, working in the mill.
I'm speaking from my father, aunts, uncles that all worked at for automotive industry, working in the factories. They didn't want that for me. They didn't want that for my cousins, for their own kids. They thought that college was an easier way. It was an educated way, but it was an easier way, and it was an easier job. They didn't understand because they didn't have the opportunities or the experiences.
Not only that,
like what David said, with corporate America and all the BS and all the bull BS you got to put up with that crap, and working like public service jobs where it's a lot of politics. I'm sure DJ's going through it with his in his stuff. Like, you see how certain things play out, and it's not easy. It's a different kind of stress. It's
with
not
the parents. With the parents, it's a prestige thing too, because my parents couldn't be prouder that I'm a first generation person to go to college and get a college education. They could not, and they were, and my father was a blue collar worker, and they could not be prouder in the fact that I went to college. But in retrospect, man, you need our children today. You need to, first of all, you need to assess what's best for your child.
Right.
Because you want that child to go to college. It may not, college don't work out for everybody. We all know that. Nope. We all know people that went to college and dropped out.
Yeah, DJ.
Went to college and got involved in some stuff, drugs or whatever, that messed them up for the rest of their life.
That dream is not mutually exclusive, right? It's not like, either you go to college and your family proud of you, or you didn't go to college and they're not, right? But it's just saying keep all of the thoughts and everything open, and it's important to and fixing, because I think that was part of the conversation that when I jumped on, it was kind of, how do we go forward? Forward really is honestly trying to reset the mind. What is critical for us, because God knows, man, we've thrown money at the problem. We've tried other things. We've protested, and that in itself is not getting us anywhere. But we really got to, honestly, if you had to take one, self-worth and value each other. It sounds very cliche, but in the Black community, we got to start looking at each other as valuable and important, because once we start there and recognize that our lives are important and our community is important, then we start to recognize. I slowly start to open that. Hey, why is she on the corner smoking weed when our kids should be up? How come you in the club, like DJ said earlier? And you're supposed to be home. We start
She
to
only
hold each
cares
other
about
accountable.
herself.
Right. We gotta start holding each other accountable first. That's why people don't respect us sometimes. Is we don't necessarily, and I know I'm drifting, we don't hold each other, and I'm not talking about the folks on us on this call, just in general, we don't hold each other accountable. So we get mad, rightfully so, when one white cop shoots a black dude and kills him, right? But we don't get mad, we don't speak up, we call it snitching when one black dude shoots 3 other black dudes in the community.
I have been saying
Talk to
shit
'em.
like this since I
Preach,
joined the cast.
Preach, brother. Preach,
You know what I
brother.
mean?
I'm
So-
not even kidding. That's been my
Preach.
entire experience in the hood. And I've
Yeah.
always called it a double standard, and it always pissed
Preach.
me off. And
Yeah.
it's
I'm gonna, you know what though? I'm glad you said that, Dave. But you know what though? And I agree with you. How would we go about that one black guy that shoots these 3 people? What would you? How do you
reporting it to
quantify
the fucking police. And then when you see someone kill somebody, you fucking tell the police. If the police come like, oh, we think this person killed someone, go to the court case, tell them they did it, so that fucker goes to jail. Problem solved.
I'm gonna go deeper than that. Somebody that kid loved. It's somebody that kid loved. It's his mother, his grandmother, because there's some grandmothers and stuff like that. If you gotta like, your grandchild is out here wilding. Yo,
DJ,
can you
things have
please? I'm
changed
gonna
a lot
can
in
you
the
please
hood.
take a ride with me, and can you and I
DJ.
please go and have a conversation?
Oh, what a DJ,
with
the
him.
last court case I looked
Wait a
at.
minute. Wait a minute.
The last
Wait a
court
minute.
case I looked at. Let me explain
let
to you.
Leon talk.
Let
Let
Leon talk.
Leon.
Let Leon talk.
Go ahead, Leon.
We are not. I'm gonna. Maybe some of us live that experience. And first off, I'll say I'm not condoning not going to police, but what's the main reason why people don't go to the police? Because they don't want to get killed if they go to the
Retaliate.
police.
And
Yeah.
the end result.
So start.
Leon,
You gotta start.
Sorry, go ahead.
You gotta start from the reasons why people are not doing stuff. You know what I mean? You gotta and you gotta give people. You gotta give brothers and sisters reasons not to do this. And I think Mike, like he touched on this in another conversation, I believe. I mean, it's like if you grow up in these environments and you don't have anything, what do you aspire to? You know what I mean? Like we all I mean, Aaron, I saw the pictures and you've told us the environment you grew up in. But still, like, and you are one of the success stories. But like, how it's not just about talking about why brothers killing brothers. Like, what do you do in the beginning to try to get out of that cycle, the cycle of poverty, the cycle? You know what I mean? Like, why do people not want to talk?
Let me. No.
I can explain
And
that.
hold
in
on.
nine
The last
different
thing I'll say.
You want
I'll
to hear
give
it from
y'all an
ologist or
example.
me?
I give y'all example. Like this past on Monday, and near where I work, near Georgetown University. I was in the office Monday. I usually work from I was in the office. I left probably about 3:00. 6:00, I get a text from my coworker with a video outside. Somebody right outside, and this rarely happens in Georgetown. Somebody right outside got shot and killed. Like
Yeah, I saw that on the news.
yeah,
Yeah.
somebody got shot, and it was 2 brothers who knew each other, and the brother who was shot, he didn't die immediately, but when they found him, he didn't even want to say who it was,
Right.
and they don't
That
even
street-
know
that
who it
street
is
cred.
yet. But I mean, it was, and I'm thinking like, damn, a couple things. I'm thinking like, wow, this happened right outside of work. 2, they was talking about a black guy who was wearing light colored pants and a black jacket. What was I wearing that day? a black light
Right.
colored pants, and a black jacket. Even though I'm older, I still fit the description, which was bad. But I mean, the dude was shot, and he still didn't want to talk,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but
he
that
died.
Let me
I'm not
give to
surprised by
let
that
me
in the
give two
slightest.
examples. Let me give two examples. Like our community has lost hope. When I was a kid, I had one neighbor. I'm gonna use the current term, snitch on another neighbor. The neighbor two houses down from the left snitched on the neighbor 2 houses down for the right. He robbed a bank. The police tracked him to our area. My neighbors, when they knocked on her door, she told him, "Yeah, I saw him. He had a sack. He was running. He was sweating. This, that, and the other." They arrested him. He went to jail. Another incident when I was less about somewhere between 12 and 14. Either it was a group of boys. I don't know if there was a formal gang or not. They was looking for somebody. They shined a bright light on our master street light. They shut all the street lights on our street off. They were stopping cars, making people get out, open up their trunks, searching cars, this, that, and the other. They did it to a couple of my friends' mothers as they was coming home from their late night shift at the factory. The fathers got on the phone. They got their firearms, this, that, and the other. My father called the police department one time, told them what was going on. You need to send some officers out here. Waited 10 minutes, nobody. He called them again, still no response. Another 10 minutes. He called them one more time and said, "You don't have to come now. We're gonna handle it ourselves. You can come, just bring a whole lot of body bags in the morning." We had police officers from our town and several surrounding
Yeah.
towns that all
Yeah.
converged in our neighborhood. Like it was like you got to have hope, but you got to take risks and you got to try to protect your own community for doing the right thing. And I'm not
Right.
saying that can be turned around now because
Oh,
we sort of allowed. No. That's my personal
apologies.
experience.
That's still
They said the
happening.
My
community.
father,
They
my
said
father woke me up out of my sleep, said, "Get down, get along the brick side of the house. If they start shooting, it, like it was,
yeah.
what it was. But the men in my community protected. They wanted to protect their women because it was not. It was
Apologist.
Eric Adams even said, like, we got to rely on the community. Anybody who knows how being in the hood is like, know that that's not necessarily the case because people are scared. They scared of the gangs. They scared of the
There's
thugs.
another
I
element to
made
this.
the analogy. If I knew somebody and their kid was out there, I'm going to somebody who this kid, everybody loves their grandmother. So I know I probably can't go up to this thug and tell him like, "Yo, man, I know your family, man. You out here." Yo, he gonna come at
I
me
will
like a whole
fucking
different
kill the
way.
living y'all
He gonna
generation.
come
I
at me
swear
like
to
a
God.
whole different way. Who you? I don't know you. But listen, but if I grab his grandmother and his grandmother introduced me to him, and this is a good friend, I probably can have a better conversation with him and probably put a little something in his head. It might take him to get shot and survive to get the message, but that's the analogy I was making.
Two things to both your points. I'll give you guys a bit of a hood secret on how this works. What I'll just described actually still happens. It happens roughly half, 60% of the time. Part of the shootings you see of people shooting other people, that's them enacting hood justice. There's a percentage of people in the hood who are the deranged psychopaths, the people walking around with undiagnosed mental disorders, the
Retaliations in
actual crazy
Chicago.
people who will get paranoid and just start shooting at crazy. That's actually a very small percentage of people in the hood, relatively speaking. The other half of the group are the people carrying guns, taking the law into their own hands because they legally cannot purchase a firearm because of their criminal records, or B, they don't give a shit and it's just easier and more accessible to get illegal firearms. It's really easy to get illegal firearms. There's a fuck ton in circulation, especially in densely populated, high crime areas. You dig? They're not thinking, I need to go through the system. No, I need to take the law into my own hands. What often keeps happening is they take the law into their own hands, a stray bullet hits a bystander, or it's over relative to them, relative outside of their understanding. They're thinking, well, this person said they were going to shoot this person or assault this person or someone else I know, so I better go kill them before that happens. And they will never report it, and no one will actually know what happened or any of the details. The end result of that is a certain society or this belief, this perception of fear and distrust starts brewing because you don't know here to trust. You don't know when the next bullet is going to fly. And after a while, that becomes the norm. I actually lived most of my life under the full expectation that I could die at any moment. I mean, shit, I've almost died like 3 times anyway by doing nothing at all. After a while, that was normal to me. Part of it is people taking the law into their own hands because they don't trust anything else and they don't see a problem with it. The other problem is in regards to, say, contacting family. You know what families actually are going to do? They're going to turn that on you. Who the fuck are you to tell me that my son or the person I'm related to is in the wrong? Who the fuck are you to tell me anything about the people that I care about? Because as far as these people are actually concerned, a lot of them, it's us versus them. My crew versus everyone else, versus the white people, other black people. Their whole perception of right and wrong and us versus them is restrained to their immediate family and their homeboys. There are streets, and I'm saying Newhallville is probably one of the best areas in terms of a strong community. There are streets where every street, even though it's literally the other side of the street, these are very close streets with separate gangs. And anytime they cross over, there is a shooting or a fighting. It happens all the time. This is the weird conflict I always saw. There are community activists who try to bridge that gap together and caucus together to get shit done in the community, and the other side that doesn't give a flying fuck at all. Every time there's a shooting, believe it or not, every time you've heard about one in fucking Chicago or any hood throughout the United States, everyone in that area knows who did it. They're fully aware. Every time I heard of a shooting, if I had just asked, I could find out who did it. Hell, the person who tried to kill me was out on bail for a crime, killed someone else, and I found out through the grapevine that he had did it. He fucking killed someone in front of 12 people, 12, and only one person decided to talk to the police. And that was thrown out because he was high on marijuana. This wasn't the first time I've been in a similar scenario. It happens all the time. There is a massive social problem of people not giving a fuck how their actions affect other people. They don't care. They don't care that you're black. Go ahead.
Abstract. We got activists who are talking about isolation in prisons and how that affect people mentally. We got people in our community who are living in isolation, cannot go out their house, will not let their kids play on the porch. That's isolation. That creates a mental thing on these young children. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, of course. They don't feel safe at school because of some of their classmates. They don't feel safe at home because of the socioeconomics and the backgrounds of their parents.
Summertime is the worst time. Summertime is the worst time. Summertime is the worst time when they out of school for some of our young people.
Home. Why do you think New York has had a rise in crime rates? They're all home.
What's the
summertime is the worst.
What's the solution? What do you propose as a solution, Abstract? What would you propose as a solution?
Unfortunately, and I've been kicking myself in the ass ever since I came up with the answer, to move. A function of some of this shit is the socioeconomics. The trick is, we should still do this. I've been saying this throughout the podcast. We should still do this, but understand some of this is based on where people live. The people that keep up this shit are more often have very poor backgrounds and very poor mindsets. It's not just that they are poor, it's that there's a certain mindset to the shit.
It's what you said earlier, though. Remember we talked earlier? It's exactly that, where we said we got to study. First of all, I agree with you. I laughed, You say, well, hey, you got to fix it? Move. Yeah, get the hell out. I get that initially, right? But the long-term solution, honestly, is what
I'm not happy that that's the answer, but that was the best.
It's true, though. But you know what? The long-term solution is, as you're trying to save this ship from sinking, is, we talked about it earlier, it was getting back to getting younger kids, right? Because some of the adults you can't save. And honestly, some
Where do
human
you think
beings,
they all live?
some people, brother, need to be cold. I know we think it's bad, but there's some people in society, black, white, brown, blue, gray, whatever. Some people just need to be put out to pastures and shot. All right. But beyond that point, right there, we need to start trying to save the young children because honestly, like I said, we got to get that value system back into where I value black lives. The reason we have snitching is because we're letting kids grow up on rap. We're letting kids grow up on everything else. But first of all, churches and a value system, it no longer exists. Right. So we let people grow up on hip hop and R&B and every other thing that creates a sense of.
I don't think
I
that's so
grew
much
up
the
on
music
hip-hop and
influencing them. I think
not an
that's them
individual.
making the music and influencing the music.
Someone said I grew up on R&B, but you probably wasn't crazy to begin with.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
We think it's cute. We think it's cute when our little babies, little 1 and 2 years old, are sitting here and giving gang signs and stuff and everything. You know what I'm saying?
That's
and oh, look at my little nigga.
That's not music's fault though, right? That's not music's fault. That's
no, but wait, hold on a second.
So you know what? I'm gonna ask another question.
That's not music.
That's kind of, I think that was David's point.
So here's another question. Here's another question. Before,
right.
So
it's
do you
not
think
music's
that?
fault? Let me just wrap this
it,
point up real quick, Todd.
Go ahead,
it's not music's fault. I agree, but what I'm saying is, when you don't have any of the other foundational stuff, like you and I, we can all say we listened to gangster rap and it didn't turn us into crazies, right? But when you already have other socio-economical challenges and mental issues, and then you put on top of that stimulating things that influences, you are going to get the results you get. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
It sounds to me
what Dave was saying. I want to add
Right,
something to what Dave was saying about music. Like we got to realize when we grew up, I didn't have earbuds in my ear from 8 years old, repeating certain lyrics over and over for 8 to 10 hours a day. That didn't happen. It's happening now. It's happening now. I had to listen to the radio, and the radio was filtered. It was like you couldn't play certain things. Certain songs only came on at after 5 o'clock, after 8 o'clock, after 10 o'clock. Certain things with certain lyrics. Like now, you can stream whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want.
Yeah, hey, we got parents buying kids iPads and phones just to keep them preoccupied so they ain't got to deal with them.
You got it.
Again, DJ, that's why she's saying the issue's more social.
So do you think that? So do you think the problem is this a culture problem?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Do you think? Wait, let me finish. Do you think that Black culture is the problem?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Certain aspect of Black culture, because Black culture is not just ghetto culture.
Thank you.
That's actually
right. Okay, I agree with that.
I've been mulling this over for months. Actually,
I agree with that.
Part of my,
you know what?
the reason I keep saying the importance.
Or should we say urban? Should we narrow it down to urban, Black urban culture?
I think I want to say this.
I don't think you should do that either. I don't think so either.
I believe what needs to happen is more of a divorce. There needs to be this separation in between the more cancerous, self-destructive aspects of our culture, i.e., us fucking pulling out our own hypocrisies, bullshit, are the fact that some of the problems are us doing this to us. We need to call that out when it happens. That needs schism that needs to happen.
Or like Chris Rock said, the separation of Black people and niggas.
Hey, I'm popular.
Yep.
Hey, I'm popular.
I was saying about it, like Chris Rock.
I'm popular.
Do you think we should? Do you think we should
go? Hey, y'all. When you got a 14, 15-year-old in high school pulling out more money out of his pocket than I can pull out of my pocket, yo, that's
CJ. That motherfucker is not filing his taxes like you are. He won't be giving that money.
Right, but you know that. When I'm talking about what type of influence that have on other kids, like, cause that's a dude getting all the girls in high school.
I'm gonna get you right now, DJ. You know what? Because we've got parents like Ologist and Mike who will tell those kids what to do. I'm saying that still goes back into their family influences.
I am not a parent.
Go ahead, Leon. Go ahead, Mike.
But I guess where I'm trying to come from is,
Mike, you go.
how about like trying to stop generational poverty? You know, where a lot of money is the root of our evil. A lot of black folks in the hood don't have money. So if you start like trying to eliminate
You could be poor and
generational
not rob
poverty,
other
maybe
people.
You
some of
gotta
this shit
teach
will
the
change.
young. You gotta teach the young though that.
But wait a minute. If the parents don't have no money, how they gonna, if they working all the time, how they gonna teach the young? If you try to
And the
get more money
education and
into
the
the
Right.
hood,
education,
But money
like
by itself won't help you if you don't have the knowledge,
no,
right?
but it will start.
the
Come
knowledge,
on
I
and
now.
the
think
Yeah,
what
knowledge.
Leon's
but you got
trying
to
to
have
say
a.
is some factor of that is the difficulty for some of the parents to provide. I don't think it's all of it, but some part of that is difficulty. That being
But
said,
if
I know tons of people who are more affluent and they've raised some assholes.
Let
It's
me
money's a factor, but it's not everything.
let me bring this
I'm
back
not, and
full
I'm not
circle
saying
to
it's everything, but if you have access to
what we talked
more,
about before. Like when we went back to integration versus segregation. It's not like black people was rich but during segregation. We
We're
had
better
very
off.
little. No. We
We're
had very no. There is more wealth accrued by individuals now, and you can do proportions, you can do percentages. It is more wealth accrued by individuals now than there was in the segregation era. But there was a culture, there was a community, there was a support system that existed, and in the modern era, we kind of forget that that period existed. We forget that that period existed where we did have self-respect. We did
Amen.
have certain
Yes,
things,
it did.
even though we didn't have as a group, and there was only a very small, like maybe 1% or 1% that actually had some what would be considered wealth. And now there's more people that have wealth, but we don't have that infrastructure. We don't have that sense of community. We don't have that sense of
Man,
self-worth. We act like that time
We
period
don't
didn't
care about
exist
the
in this
community.
country anymore. It was here.
yes, sir. Well said.
but I ain't even talking about like, you know, I'm just talking about allowing people to survive and have like I mean, when you don't have shit and you grow up not having shit, and then you've grown up not having shit, and nobody there to teach you how to get shit. You're gonna continue that cycle. Like
Yeah,
if money,
yeah.
Except
a
when you
little bit of
don't.
money or a little bit of something, or programs to help you or something will help break this. Just we need something to break the cycle.
So,
You
Leon,
know
so
what
are
I
you
mean?
saying training programs so people can get better jobs or
Yeah,
to
and that
kind
are
of
effective, and also
well, okay.
access to more jobs. Because the way it's
Y'all know
going
about
now,
upward
where
bounds.
Let me go back to
Y'all
my
know about upward
historical
bounds,
perspective.
right?
Like my parents grew up like they didn't have shit. They didn't know shit. They knew they wanted better, and they took chances. And they got their ass out the south. They went to the north, and
they
luckily there was a
moved.
sense of
Interesting.
no. Listen, no, hold on a second. They moved. My parents are from certain states from the south. My friends' parents are from other states of the south. We still had that certain sense of community. My some of my best friends in the world are the folks that I grew up with because of that sense of community growing up with that sort of, even though we were in the Midwest, we still had that connection from the South. And even though our parents were from different states of the South, we still had that. It's
Yeah.
like it was there. And we, as other folks have said on this podcast, specifically David, we got to get back to that. We
I
got to
just
get
find it
back to
interesting.
that.
I feel like you're also effectively describing another immigrant story. Wars.
Yeah, it's just immigration regionally within the United States. And I
Listen,
like
listen.
it is weird because I
Yeah.
like in my job I was like I was part of this study from a Southern university. Like where I work, there's a Latino immigrant, and I can relate to their struggle based on my own experience as an African American, not immigrating from another country, but immigrating from another region. And like the guy that was interviewing me about this and about my work and how I connect and this, that, and the other, and like how some of the kids they think of me as a father, as an uncle, this, that, and the other. They listen to me because, like, in a sense, like I don't have the, even though I do have Latino heritage, um, I didn't have that experience because the Latino culture, how can I put it? I never was raised with definable, that's a good word, definable aspects of Latino culture. Those cultures were kind of woven into the African American, and I just assumed they were a part of it. But there are little things that now that I'm more aware, that I noticed that was, now that I'm more aware, I noticed that those things come from that aspect of my heritage. But I'm not gonna say that I'm Latino or I'm Afro Latino because I'm Black American, because that's how I was raised. That's the culture in which I was raised. I don't know Latino culture like that. I wasn't raised in Latino culture.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
you're Sub-Latino.
Listen,
no, I'm not.
listen,
Go ahead, Ty.
And we call
listen.
you Latinx.
Hey. My mother and father were bootleggers, number runners, number runners before there was a play 3, play 4. I mean them number runners like
Back in the day, old
yeah,
school.
back in the
Come
day.
to your house,
I
write it
remember
down
my
on a
father
slip
Let's
of
get
taking
in
paper.
me
archetypes,
with a
huh?
handful of, with a handful of a big roll of paper and take me to Keeney Park and said, put it at that tree and put some leaves under it.
And playing
And
pennies.
if my parents saw me playing crap, they would beat my ass. But you know what? We still had a religious base. I had to get up and go to church every Sunday. One time I had the nerve to ask my mom, why you ain't going to church? Got slapped the hardest I almost got slapped into another
I
universe.
wish I
bro.
could have grew up with you. That God. Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Almost got slapped into another universe.
Bill's
I'm
character,
religious. I'm
abstract
not
Bill's
religious
character.
anymore, but I miss church.
I a couple questions, Leon. Since you were mentioning earlier, about economics, like giving people, economics. Basically, that would help. That would be a thing that would help.
I had a question for Leon.
Do you
too.
believe that reparations for African Americans would be successful? Do you think that would be what you call it? I'm asking Leon.
I would say yes. Only I would say yes because if just to help break the cycle, but it has to be, what do I want to say? It has to be distributed in a certain way with I would say with certain stipulations. But I think it would help.
I was watching a YouTube video and it was saying that, like, when Lincoln Fleet displays, originally the whole thing was supposed to be 40 acres and a mule, and I don't know if they were measuring it to today's figures, but they said that would roughly translate to about $350,000. So could you imagine giving $350,000 to every Black person, every ADOS person? I guess I don't know how you would quantify would get it, but I mean, just think about that. $350,000.
I think it would. I mean, for the like think about this. Abstract. If your family was given 350 grand, or given a means of getting out of the hood, getting out of Rice Heights, with a house that's your land and everything. I mean, that you would have grown up different. You know what I mean?
And I guess I should let the other shoe drop. There's an assumption that the issue is always money. It isn't. If anything, well, I'm never going to say I'm against the idea of reparations. The problem I always have with the concept is I don't think having money is the only issue. You also
No,
have to
I
have
don't
the
either.
know-how on
I
how
don't
to
either.
keep it. Like one of the things I'm constantly seeing,
Well
there
said.
are wrestlers. I'm a big wrestling person who, because of their background, some of them, there are wrestlers who have degrees, who are been able to keep and manage their money. Most of them do not, and they end up dying very young. They do not have the management skills to hold on to and maintain the money that they were paid through WWE or other wrestling promotions. The same thing also happens with many athletes. There are numerous instances of athletes who come from extremely poor backgrounds, making millions and millions of dollars and just not knowing how to manage their money to keep it and maintain. Truth be told, I really fucking hate to say it, but really thinking about it, knowing my parents, we would have lost the money. I think I would have had a good shot at being able to manage it. Maybe one of my brothers, but for the most part, money wasn't the only issue.
No, and I agree with that. But that's why I said it's got to be certain stipulations with the way it's distributed. You know what I mean? And again, I personally believe that there should be. I don't know if it is. I haven't researched it, but like when you do become an NBA player after being in college for 1 year, and you get millions, and you're expected to be that breadwinner. I do think there should be programs in place to show these brothers how to maintain their money and make sure they have.
Say no.
Well,
after. No, I blame that on the players' associations for all major. I blame that on the players' association for all the major sports. Once you become,
I think they do have programs for that too.
Yeah, they do have those programs now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they
Yeah,
do.
they do.
So they have.
Yeah,
they have like everybody gets assigned a financial planner. Like once you sign a professional,
they have former players come in and give them briefings
and financial advisors and everything.
Oh,
They do.
okay.
No, but is it optional or is it mandatory? I think it needs to be mandatory.
I think it's mandatory. It's part. They have like different retreats that the players go to. They talk with them as rookies. So you saying you saying no? What? So why are you saying no? What would be the issue?
No,
how
to say no?
Well, you were saying
everybody that come asking you for money, and I had to learn. And I'm a very generous person. And I got money out there right now. But a neighbor across the street came. I know him from across the street, but I don't know you. He get into a situation with his wife and stuff, and he says, "Look, man, they're about to throw me in jail. I got to pay this bill. Can you give me 150?" I'm like, bruh. I said, "Yo, we've had some words."
So you're saying no to reparations?
Huh? No,
I'm saying no to reparations.
What I'm saying that when you are a millionaire, you just got to go to college for 1 year. You a lottery pick, but you grew up in the hood. You grew up in the hood, and so now you a million, but you ain't really a millionaire because taxes gonna take like damn near.
You're 600,000 there, actually.
I got one for David and Leon.
So you're not really a millionaire, but everybody thinks you're a millionaire. You acting like a millionaire because your head ain't straight. You acting like a millionaire.
That's what I was
getting at. The first thing you're gonna do is buy mama house. You're gonna buy cars, and you're gonna hang out every night. And you, instead of buying what you usually used to drink, which might have been a Guinness Stout and a Hennessy and Coke, now you buying Cristal.
Because they try to spend all their money on their homeboys.
And you got all your boys. And you got all your boys from high school.
I hate to say it.
Living in your house and hanging with you.
But hold up.
They know.
Act like it ain't brothers out there who are able to be successful with their money too.
Right.
But the flip side.
This is going to what
that ain't reparation money.
David's entire point was
exactly
you're not going to solve the problem by just throwing money at it because the issue isn't always money. Some percentage, some factor of it is money. Some of the issue is that's not the whole pie.
I honestly argue.
There are people who have money and are able to fuck all with their lives. Are they still overdose? Or it's not.
Do you think if we got reparations that things would be better for Black Americans just based on getting money?
No,
would things change that much for most
absolutely not.
And I'm not even talking about
the short term.
I'm going to use Mike because I know Mike.
If
we gave Mike $300,000, I guarantee he'd be able to flip that and have like $1 million or so. For some people, money is the barrier that's holding them back. What's the thing we were talking about before? Affirmative action in terms of getting people into college. The economic barrier, there are economic barriers that were holding people back. That was the only thing preventing them from being successful. That's why some of these programs are really, really good. For others, depending on the person, they could get in and they don't have what it takes to really get through college.
I'm not even talking about just directly giving folks money. I'm talking about getting money. What about like getting better schools and shit, stuff like that? Like that's gonna help people in the long run. It doesn't necessarily have to be dollars going into people's hand, but the stuff in people in the communities are better or equal to other communities.
He's talking about infrastructure. I think like I think that short term, if every black person of African American descent that could basically prove, because we've discussed this on previous podcasts, to prove that they had an ancestor that was enslaved or this, that, or the other, that they would get reparations on the short term. Yes, some people would benefit, some people would squander the money. And it's not like white folks wouldn't figure out a way for the ones who weren't financially acute or had financial acumen to maintain and sustain the money that they receive, the reparations that they receive. That money would just be, I don't want to say wasted, but it would be spent. It would be spent.
These cats in the hood would kidnap somebody from your family, bro.
I'm a button for 2 seconds. I'm a button for 2 seconds only because I didn't want to just drop off the phone. But my wife is telling me I got to bring my butt to bed. So I love y'all, man. Brothers, be well.
We appreciate your wisdom. We appreciate your wisdom, Dave.
Anytime, brothers. Be well.
Hey, first of all, how do we determine? Because now we got people who are half black, half white, then intermixed and stuff.
How do we determine?
No. Wait, we have to do it because this is always fun. Let's all say what we are.
Hold on.
Wait,
DJ, I'm going with the American rule.
Tell me your ancestry.
One drop does it. One drop does it.
Wait,
no, hold on.
I want to find out what Chuck Robinson is.
No.
One drop. What's that? 1%? What's one drop?
Yes.
1%?
Wait, I want to hear. I want to know what his ancestry is.
No, listen. One drop does it because that's how they used during the slave codes.
Okay, so what is one
during
drop?
The slavery era, if you had if they can prove that you had any African ancestry, you were classified as black. That's not the standard.
I know.
And how much money should they get, Allegas?
Hold on.
I want to find out what our racial background is first.
No, wait, hold on a second.
Pause that one.
No.
What is your ancestry?
What is my ancestry?
How much?
Yeah, I was going to start with Truck, and we can
my
all
ancestry.
go. I always love
I don't know percentages of my ancestry. African, Irish, Scottish, Latino, Native American.
Yeah, I bet you have a few of those in common with you. Go ahead, man. Tell us what your background is.
Why are we on this?
Yeah,
because it's fun. I like learning about this shit.
Aaron, well, that's another
podcast. You can carry another podcast.
Wait.
So anyhow, I think we went there as far as we can go with reparations. I want to talk about a couple things that happened this week. There is a lawsuit in the NFL. A black coach, Brian Flores, is suing the NFL because for racism, essentially. He said that basically that he interviewed for a job and he didn't get the job and went to a white guy, but apparently while he was interviewing, before he interviewed, he got a text from Bill Belichick that basically congratulated him, and apparently it was the wrong person, and which kind of exposed this trick. So the NFL has a rule, it's called the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule, where basically it means they have to interview one person of color or a person from a disadvantaged group or a person of color for any open positions in the NFL.
Pretty sure that happened to me this week.
In the NFL, the NFL numbers, I can give you exact stats, but it's around about 70% black. And there is essentially at this point one black coach.
Right.
What do you
do you think the examples you gave were actually
I would like Chuck Robinson to
how is this different than any other? How is this different than any other profession in America for a black a black man or a black
Exactly.
woman.
Pretty
don't,
much the same.
I don't think it. I don't think it isn't. But
Truck Robinson. Oh, he been quiet. I would like Truck Robinson. Hey, Truck Robinson, please espouse on how people, when somebody's trying interviewing for a job, does the people already have a person in talk about Department of Social.
No, hold on a second. No, let me talk about the
Let him
racial.
go first.
I've been in
You're
interviews.
dominating the conversation. Let him go first. No.
Wait, hold on a second.
Yeah,
I've been in
Truck
No,
interviews.
let him go
Truck ain't
first.
said
You
nothing.
keep silencing him.
Go ahead, Truck.
Well, in the aspect of Department of Social Services, you have promotions, you have lateral transfers. DJ and I both know that they already have people in mind who they want in certain positions. They're just going through the process.
Formality.
okay, but
Formality.
if it's a formality, right? Say I
Yeah.
have some person in mind. Shouldn't you go through the entire process? So in this case, what this guy is exposed is that basically they already made the decision before they interviewed him. He has receipts. He basically what happened was that he interviewed for a job that he knew he wasn't going to get. He claims it happened more than once, but apparently just the one particular case that he's referring to.
It did happen more than
It's
once.
universal. It's universal.
But what I'm saying is that what's unique about this is that we can all agree it happens in across all industries. But the fact is, you right now you're seeing it behind the scenes. You're seeing how they make, how the hamburger's made. But you're seeing exactly the favoritism of what happens. And so, I don't know what
that's everywhere.
About it.
Do you think it's actually racist?
I've been on interviews where I know that I'm the affirmative action interview.
Go ahead.
Somebody of color. I've been on those interviews and realized that in the interview, then I just pull back. I know I'm not getting this job. I'm cutting my answers.
I just don't know if those 3 examples are racist though by themselves.
Way. And move on with my life. I'm not getting this job. I will find another one.
They are
racist. Those 3 examples are racist.
They may not, but you don't think it's racist for them to have chosen
I'm
someone
saying that is not racist. It was racist when it happened to me. But it is what it is.
There's black people who get jobs that another black person might be more qualified from, but you don't roll with the status quo.
Yep.
Right. Yes, but what I'm saying is that even if that's the case, if I'm hiring for whatever job, right? I'm hiring for, guy who makes widgets, right? And I have someone in mind. I got this person in mind, this Joe Schmo, right? But I got to interview these 5 other people, right? Yeah. What you don't want to happen is that you don't want to offer Joe Schmo the job and then interview the 5 other people and let them know that you've chosen them.
That was stupid.
When that happens, that's the problem. You're exposing
the shit that happened with dude.
What are you exposing though, Todd? What are you exposing?
You're exposing the holes in their process.
In their process, but I guess I would say this. I think
I wouldn't
that the NFL definitely has a problem as far as the amount of black coaches. I guess my only thing with what Brian Flores did was that his 3 examples on their own aren't racist, right? The 3 examples that he gave as far as his lawsuit on their own aren't racist, right? Right? Nothing necessarily says that they were racist.
Specifically racist, no.
Right, they're not specifically racist.
No,
the 3 things he said.
Against him and his race, right.
Because it's a part of a pattern of discrimination.
No, and also
but
with Wait, he could have received a text message from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick don't work for the Giants.
But that's not necessarily racist. I understand that. I understand what you're saying, right? The Giants should have been better as far as who they communicated it to. But it's not racist by itself.
It's not racist.
Right? It's not racist. Right? You can say over 20 years the NFL has some race issues as far as hiring black coaches. But those 3 examples
the fact that
by
he got
themselves
fired was racist.
Not really. But how would you say that if the general manager is black? The person that fired him was black, right?
Yeah.
So how is that racist if the general manager is black?
You're getting into whoopee territory.
Wasn't it
Well,
part of the
what's the
owner?
whoopee territory? What's
So
the
yeah,
whoopee
so
territory?
unpopular is
The text
exactly
thread, the text thread. I'm
unpopular.
not gonna go into it. We're not gonna discuss it on the cast.
No, there was like
Unpopular
100
is
text
laying it
messages.
out.
I couldn't keep up, but yeah.
Unpopular is
No.
laying it
But
out.
didn't the owner tell the GM to fire him?
So, but how is that racist? I guess that's what I'm saying. How is it racist?
I do think it's racist when you have a particular rule that's designed to try and at least allow people to be interviewed for jobs, and then you don't at least follow through the rule, or you circumvent the rule, which is what they did in this case. So in that case, I say it's racist because you're saying, hey, look, we're supposed to interview someone for a position,
Librarian.
and then you don't interview the person.
But
Then you interview the
Librarian,
person
they
after
didn't
the fact.
circumvent it.
that's
The
just
only
EOC.
The only difference between this and every other type of job you got is that it came out earlier who they wanted in advance. They had to, by the Rooney Law, they affirmative action, you call it whatever, you had to interview a black person. The only problem with this is that they had their person in mind from day one, and that happens in every single job. Me and
Every
Sean
single
go
industry.
through it all the damn time.
I get it.
That happened to me
I get
last
it, but
You can have a black person. You can have a black person, and you know this black person is more. And me and Sean went through this. This black person is more qualified, but this other person is gonna follow our directions more. This person might be this black person a little more radical.
okay, but
Even though that person is more
so-
qualified.
I think they
but
should
what
have
I'm
done
saying-
it to expose the NFL for the shit.
right.
For the owners. I think they should have done. I think he knows he probably won't get another job, but he still exposed them for what they are.
Yep.
So I commend the brother.
No, I
He did
agree
it.
with that, and I support him in what he's doing. Like,
It ain't an exposure to me. It's not an exposure to me.
Not those
That's
examples.
the industry. It ain't no
Right.
exposure to me.
But those three examples by themselves isn't exposure, right? There has to be more behind
it's
it, right?
exposure
I'm
for
sure
the
it is.
general.
We just don't know
There
the
has
depth
to be
of it.
more, right?
Unpopular. Can I ask you a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
I've legit been taking that every example he cited as like, it's not about the one example or even the three. I kind of figured during the lawsuit, more information would come out and it would get revealed, like, I don't know, emails, text messages, or some shit found through discovery, that it was a pattern of like almost systemic. You dig?
And that's
Like,
the only way you
something
can
they'd have
with
to prove in court. Like, he can't prove that shit now without going through discovery and looking through the rest of their notes. Like, he's going to find what he's actually looking for once all the information is handed over for him for the lawsuit.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead,
Sean.
Sean.
Yes.
How do you think Bill Belichick became aware that the other Brian was offered the job? Do you
because they talk to each other.
He's on the
They talk to each other. Just like in corporate America, people
he's
talk
one
to
of
each
the
other.
boys. He's the head coach of the Pats.
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
Remember Joe? Joseph?
Joe who?
At our
Yeah.
job?
In my job. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Should he
I'm
have
not gonna
gotten
say
the
Joe
job?
Mama.
Yeah. He
Should
should
he have
have.
gotten the job?
Yeah. They gave it to Matthew instead.
Okay, now wait. So that job you talk about. So let's say that Joe had found out that they hired this other person before he interviewed for this job. What do you think that's right? You think it's fair?
That's not
It's
how
not.
it happens.
It's not
though.
fair,
You're
but
doing a
So-
hypothetical.
but
it's
and-
not.
and-
But
and-
it's not
and-
necessarily
it don't
racist.
run
right?
like that.
It's
it don't
not
go
necessarily,
like that.
but the NFL has a particular rule that they're supposed to follow. That they're only following in pretty much in
Government-
just.
But they
Government-
followed. But
Government,
and they've been
any
found
other
out.
They
job-
followed it.
Any other
They
job that
followed
has
it. You gotta look
affirmative
at it
action
from
to follow the same
view.
rule.
You got to look at it from a legal point of view. They followed the rule.
Yeah,
They
they did.
interviewed somebody of color, even though
Yeah.
Bill.
All he had to
Belichick-
do was
No,
interview.
listen.
All he
And
had to do was
and
interview.
listen. I'm not against Brian Flores. I agree with what he's doing. I support what he's doing. He needs to shed light on this. But when you look at this from a legal point of view, like the fact that Bill Belichick that has no connection to any of the organizations that he might have interviewed for a job from, just because he sent that text, that's worthless or meaningless. Like
they can try to prove some connections. That connection's never gonna come out. It never is. They're never gonna be able to prove it. And the the fact that he got an interview. Did he get an interview? Yes, he did. They followed the Rooney Rule.
Right.
It is what it is.
They already had in mind who they wanted. They had to
Right.
go through the formalities.
They shouldn't
Now-
have to have a Rooney Rule anyway,
They
because
shouldn't,
it's
to be
all
honest. They shouldn't. But
Exactly. We already got EEOC. Why you need a Rooney Rule?
Listen,
Well, they needed
But
a Rooney
again,
Rule
if you got
because Johnny
32,
Cochran
if
was
you
going to
got
sue.
32 white
So-
owners,
Johnny Cochran
and they
was
can
gonna
pick
sue
whoever
20
the hell
years
they
ago.
want.
Yeah, but these teams are based in America. It's still federal law, Equal Opportunity Act. They still
So-
supposed to interview folks that are qualified of color.
that don't mean
So-
you get the job.
What?
Exactly.
So
No, I just said interview. I just said interview. I didn't say you
Right,
get the
exactly,
job.
Alex. I'm agreeing with you.
So what should the NBA NFL do about the lack of black coaches? Because you
Enjoy the bad publicity?
look at the amount of players in the NFL. 70% of the league is
Well,
black.
Well,
But what
I
do you
have to
do
put
about
some
Right now,
owners?
there's like
They had a
one.
question about black coaches. What do you do about owners?
no.
Yeah,
I think y'all missing. I
That's
think
not a
y'all
question
missing
of
the thing.
owners.
This is how it changes. Black players.
Yep.
Part of his lawsuit is saying that he was told by owners to lose games. So what if black players say, we're going to lose games? We're going to lose games until you start hiring coaches.
Right.
No, they
Okay.
can't do that. I mean, I don't even know how
They
they
can't
would
do
do
that.
They
That
can't
wouldn't
do
do
that.
No,
No, they
I'm
can't,
not,
but
no,
they
no,
can.
Owners
I'm
told
not
them to
saying
throw
that.
games.
No. Listen.
That's what he said. That's what he said the
No.
Dolphins did.
No, I'm not
That's what he
saying they
said the Dolphins
publicly.
did.
No, just like the owners. The owners didn't publicly come out and say, I need you to lose games. They gave money and funds so that they can lose games to get picks or to do whatever they
No,
want to do. This, that, and the other. So I'm saying that black players just come together. Don't
No, they can't do it though,
say
because
anything.
they got
Why
they got a
can't?
shorter
Why
they got a shorter time frame, right? So some of these
They
guys,
what?
the average age of an NFL player is 3 years, right?
Yep.
So you can't go in and start losing games and have
No.
bad film.
No, I'm not.
No,
those
no.
type of things.
It's
I'm not
just
saying
about
that the
that
ones at the
movement,
bottom.
really.
I'm not saying like if your stars start doing it. Well, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna run that route just right. Well, maybe if I had a black coach.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But I mean, he
I
didn't.
think
He
you
didn't
gotta
lose
change
games
the.
anyway. He said no.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah,
do
but
it anyway.
but there's been other black coaches that said that they've been told by owners to lose games.
Yeah,
Listen, and
Yeah.
this
but
is not just
I agree.
football.
If the
That
players,
don't
I
happen in
mean,
just football.
No, but if the players start doing it, it's a money making.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's money, and like this will put the owners
Right.
against owners because their franchises will be less
Right.
valuable.
Right.
Like,
So if they tell
that's
Dak,
how you do it.
hey, Alligators, if they tell Dak, yo,
Yep.
man, you winning too many games, but lose, just don't throw this pass to so and so, and I mean, some brothers might take them up on that.
Yeah.
Well, Dak is
I
at
tend to
home right
dis-
now, so Dak is at home where he should be.
Dak is at home because of poor coaching. You don't call that BS play. And they trying to blame him. I saw all the analysis. I was mad as hell. He didn't call that bullshit.
Hey,
That shit
I'm gonna
pissed
As
me
long
off.
as Dak is
Alligators, I'm gonna
quarterback,
give you a
he's
prime
going to be
example.
at home.
Hey, Alligators, I'm gonna give you a prime example. Super Bowl, New England Patriots against Seattle.
Atlanta.
You're at the 1 yard
Yes.
line, and you got Lynch on your team.
Yes.
Prime example. And you don't get the ball to Lynch, and he averaging like 6 yards of carry, and
No,
you throw a pass.
No,
Right.
and also Atlanta, that first half, like Atlanta was running any way they wanted to against New England. And then they gonna come out the second half and pass. Like I turned it off. I went to
I
sleep. I
mean,
woke
you can
up the
talk.
next
You can say
morning,
the same
it
thing
was
about the
like,
Chiefs game. Like the Chiefs game is basically the same thing. What happened in the second half?
Yep.
But getting back to what Todd was talking about, the brother is exposed. I mean, he's just putting out there what needs to be put out there right now. He's the coaching equivalent of Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. They, you know, and it's interesting to see how, you know, it's. I watched something on Real Sports to talk about how few black coaches there are, and that's a big to me. That's a big problem.
It's
I
huge.
think. I mean, you can't just say, well, I don't know why there ain't no black coaches. They can't seem to be able to put the cat to coach. I'm like, come on, man. 70% of the league is black.
All right,
Come
so
on,
And the
Flores had a
NBA,
winning record.
the NBA has
can I ask
the
another
NBA has a
question?
higher level of
Can I
coaching
ask
than
another
black
question?
players.
Go ahead, Sean.
What do you think should happen? Let's play hypothetical. They find out that the Giants offered this dude the job before they interview Brian Flores. Say it comes out that that's what it was.
Then
I
there
think
should be some
Which
legal issues for them.
yeah, be some
Yeah,
legal.
they need to put shit in
He
place.
is suing
Yeah.
for
You
monetary
can't say that he
damages.
offered it. You can't say that he offered it. People know that the guy got the job, but they have not offered the job yet. So you can't use that. But everybody knows he got the job. You know what I'm saying? But they're gonna go through the process, that the affirmative action process or Rooney rule or whatever. They're gonna finish that
No,
to stay
DJ,
right,
I
but
think
what
I
but
think
what
that
go
they
ahead.
offered this dude the job and they told him not to say anything.
Right.
And Bill Belichick was
Yeah,
his
of course.
boy, and he told Bill, I got the job, you know, or however
Yeah.
it came out. You
Or
know
the
what I'm
coach
saying?
told
No, I thought,
Belichick.
I thought
Or the management.
Belichick's email said, "I heard that you got
Text.
that
Yeah,
that you
text.
got
It
the
was a
job."
text message.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Somebody
But
told
y'all,
him.
wait,
I'm
but
saying,
y'all don't think that happens in regular jobs in America? You interview.
yes.
Well,
It
wow,
does.
so of
you're a really
course it
good
does.
candidate.
Totally
We have some
happens.
other.
Of
You know
course
We
it
have
what?
some
does.
other
You know what?
candidates that we
I'm
have
gonna
to interview, but it looks like, if we don't see anything better, then you have the job. You don't think that happens?
but you know what though? Yeah, I'm sure it does. But it doesn't get exposed. When it gets
Exactly.
exposed, that's the problem. And that's what I think is the
Exactly.
issue. This got exposed. And that's the
So-
problem. And
So
the
something
NFL
needs to
has
be
a
done
coaching
about it.
problem. So it needs to be done about it. Exactly. I don't think you can just sit here and just say, oh well,
So-
hey, that's the way it goes.
All right.
Suck it.
So librarian.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's exposed. So now they say, what are they gonna? What is the solution? So they say, okay, nobody, make sure if anything comes out, even if you have your coach who you want in mind, if anything comes out before the interview process is done, that you that you already had your pick in mind, but you still interviewed a black person.
Didn't this happen
What's
to him
gonna
like
happen?
twice?
You
What's
know
gonna
what though?
happen?
You know what though?
No, no.
You
What's
know
gonna
what though?
happen?
If they do it, that's fine. You can't.
What's gonna happen? Somebody
here's
tell
what
me
I'm
what's
saying.
gonna happen.
I'm telling you. What I'm saying is
All right.
that even if they do that, which happens in life, hey, that's the way it goes. If I apply for a job and they interview 3 other people and they got someone else in mind, I don't get hired, they hire someone else. Hey, I'm none the wiser.
All they're gonna do.
If I interview for a job and the day before I interview for the job, I find out that someone else in the department got the job, and then they still interview me for the job, they're at fault.
You just pissed off. All you
So
is
does that mean I
pissed
have a
off, bro.
lawsuit? Because
All
I've
you
been
need
saying
to
this,
have-
but that happens.
That's a lawsuit.
All
Streets,
you
can
need
I
is
can I
just
sue?
pissed off.
That's
Let
a
me-
lawsuit.
Wait, what's the
Sean,
lawsuit
Sean,
though?
Truck
What's the
Robinson.
lawsuit?
Truck
the-
Robinson.
There's a young
the
lady.
lawsuit-
Robinson.
But
All
what's
he
the
is
lawsuit
pissed
though?
off,
I don't
right,
understand the
Wait,
lawsuit.
let me finish. But the lawsuit is that they I was interviewed after they hired someone before I was interviewed. That
Did
would
they
be the
hire
lawsuit.
him? Or
No,
did they
wait,
hire him?
they had a
hired him.
favor.
Is
They had a
hired him.
Does
favor.
that
He
count as
hired
breaking the
interview.
law?
That's
He
different.
hired.
I can't hear everybody. I can hear you. Say what?
No, I
No, no,
think
He's
that's
not hired. All
right.
they
That's
know
a
is that
favor.
they have accepted this dude that he's going to be the coach.
There's
They-
a
they
young
was-
lady that I
And
work
after
with.
they finished the interviews, they hired him.
Right.
DJ,
There's a
as
young
much as
lady
I
that I
also
work
love
with.
talking over people, we got to
I
stop
think it's
doing
Yeah,
that.
we
to
got
each other.
we're getting a little messy.
And
What'd you
let
say,
me
Todd?
But we say Sean, go ahead, Sean.
Sean,
I think it's
Truck,
I think
Truck.
it's semantics. I think that they offered this dude the job, knowing full well they had other people to interview.
Yep.
But wasn't expecting him to go run tell it or spill the beans.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I honestly believe.
I mean, even if nothing happens, which probably nothing won't, because it's still, even though it's the NFL, it's still private industry. The owners can do whatever the hell they want to do. It still needs to be brought to light and exposed like it is. Because something could happen, something won't happen. But I'm glad dude exposed it, because we won't get these opportunities. Just like, and I'm gonna move this a little bit. Just like if Biden didn't say he was going to nominate a sister would never get nominated. She just wouldn't. A sister has never been nominated before.
No, but why wouldn't she? Why did he have to say something for him to nominate a black woman?
The more,
I don't get that.
You know, Leon, the more I hear this whole thing with Biden say he's going to elect a black woman, he hung him. He put himself in a bad position. This candidate, how good she is, can't win.
I'm with you,
Here's what I'm saying.
Why? Hold on.
Hear me out.
When Reagan said, wait, hold on.
Let's not overtalk him.
When Reagan said that he was going to nominate a woman, nobody was up in arms. He said a woman. So how did he put himself in a bad position then?
He didn't say black. He didn't say
it doesn't matter that he said black. He said there's already a woman on the Supreme Court. He could say black if he wanted.
No.
Let me.
I got a good one for you.
Don't always go against me. Here you go, Abstract. I know you coming at me.
No, because I got a fun one for you.
I know you coming at me, Abstract. When I give y'all information, y'all tend to think I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I tend to just double check it just so I'd be like, yo, he's honest. Or like, no, I disagree.
Y'all need to listen to the whole transcript.
You need to listen to me. I'm Truck Robinson's son.
Y'all need to listen to the whole transcript.
Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead.
DJ first, then me.
DJ had to hit you up privately on the straight.
I heard the whole thing. I heard the whole thing about Reagan saying he's gonna that he said he is willing to look.
Does it matter?
At a female.
Oh man!
So, all right. So look at the transcript.
You're playing into my
trap.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Go question me, and then y'all find out y'all wrong.
Because here's the thing, DJ. Donald Trump said right after RBG died, "I will elect a woman to the Supreme Court." To make matters worse, most of the people
I'm talking about what he said.
No.
I'm not talking about. He said Ronald Reagan. He said Ronald Reagan.
I know. I'm saying
he's
Donald
talking
Trump, the
so you gotta be able to
president,
Trump
who is the previous one, literally said right after Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, "I will be nominating a woman to the Supreme Court."
I'm not talking about
Trump.
And
to make matters worse, most of the people that he put in positions in as federal judges were not recommended by the Bar Association. They were not recommended.
Abstract, you're missing the point.
Oh, go for it.
I'm commenting on what he said Ronald Reagan. I'm not talking about Donald Trump.
So what's your comments about Trump and what he just said?
I see it as a similar
so
situation.
we jumping. So I'll
no.
Wait a second. Here's my point. Joe Biden is the president, right?
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that Reagan said he'd elect a woman. I think it's less divisive.
I didn't say that. Leon said that.
Leon. I think him saying it's a woman is a lot. Doesn't have the same sort of devices it has as saying you get a black woman. It's like we was talking earlier with the football thing, with you hiring for a job and you got someone in mind, but you go through the whole process of interviewing, but you hire that person in mind. All I'm saying, Biden should have said, "Look, I'm going to hire a woman." And behind the scenes, hire whoever he wants to hire. And you know what I'm saying?
Black woman.
And I think.
Wait,
let me finish.
Wait a minute.
When he said it, who cares if it's divisive? We know that Republican presidents are gonna nominate conservative justices,
white men
that fall along with their party.
But they don't say it.
Whether they say it or not, they do say it.
Right.
They do say it.
But
let's go whether or not it's their job or not is just relevant. He said it. He is in that position. He has the authority. When
Exactly.
Trump has 6 weeks to get Amy Barrett Cohen or whatever her name is in, and he does it, and he says that he's going to put a woman in. It is what it is. And Mitch McConnell, who blocked Barack Obama for what was it, 7 to 10 damn months, didn't let him get a justice so that Trump could do it. We can't act like political agendas and political what do I want to say? Paying off political dues or what you say you're going to do on the campaign trail is not part of that, because it is.
Exactly.
But let me ask a question though.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Hold on. Go back to when Joe Biden said this. He said it in a debate, trying to get elected, trying to get votes. He said this to black folks who overwhelmingly voted for his ass. So what was the problem with him saying it then? Now he's the president. Like Ala just said, he's honoring that. It's not like he was the president and said that shit. Like Reagan or Trump. He said it in a debate. So what was the problem with him saying it then?
It doesn't really matter if he said it in a debate.
The problem is,
it does matter.
No,
as divisive as this country is right now.
Who divided this country?
Irrelevant.
Totally.
Yes, can I finish? DJ finish. Can I finish? As divisive as this country was, all he had to say is, "I'm gonna pick the most qualified person,"
right,
and leave it at that. Even in the back of his mind, if he thought he gonna have a black person.
Wait, hold on a second. I'm gonna respond. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I'm gonna respond. As divisive as the country was when Trump was president, and you know that I'm an independent, I don't give a goddamn about any goddamn party. I hate both of them. But anyway, Trump said so much divisive shit. And it wasn't like, well, Trump shouldn't say that because it's divisive. Trump said whatever the hell he wanted to say.
Exactly.
He wanted to say it how he wanted to say it, and nobody had a goddamn problem with that. So now that Biden is doing what he said he's going to, no. Now that Biden said he's going to do what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, now everybody's like the post I put from Frank Wilhoit, like conservatives, they want the law to protect them but not bind them, and then they want the law to bind the other groups, the outer groups, but not protect them. And this is what we're facing. Like they want Biden to follow what the expectations are, but Trump doesn't have to do it. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Wait a minute, though. Wait a minute.
What did Biden run on? What did Biden run on, and what did he say during his
he said in the campaign trail that he would have nominated a black woman to the Supreme Court, and he gets a chance to do it. He ran on that.
Exactly.
You know what? Bringing both sides of the aisle together.
So you know what, DJ?
So why?
If you don't recognize democratic rhetoric,
have to bring it all together in one.
Y'all coming at me? All I said, based on what he ran on, and based on what he said in his inauguration, even though if he had intentions on picking a black woman, he just said, "I'm gonna pick the best qualified person." And leave it at that instead of calling all this craziness.
Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. The swamp is still there.
The swamp?
Yeah, but if a Republican...
You ain't lying about that.
DJ.
Can I ask a question, Todd?
Go ahead.
DJ.
So if a Republican...
Y'all agree? So y'all disagree?
Hold up. Let him speak.
No, I was going to say, you keep saying qualified. None of Trump's appointees, none of them were qualified by the American Bar Association.
Wait, hold up.
None of them were qualified. Y'all agree with him? Y'all agree with him? Y'all agree with him?
I just showed you the post on the Bar Association.
Y'all agree with him?
You two gonna have to argue this on fly, man. This is getting a little long.
Let
Unpopular ask a question, please.
Go ahead, Unpopular. Y'all agree with abstract?
So if a white Republican candidate said during one of his debates the next person I'm going to appoint to the Supreme Court is going to be a white male. Would you have a problem with him saying?
No.
You wouldn't have a
I
problem.
would have a problem. I would say the most qualified person.
Yeah,
No.
But wait, Leon, you wouldn't have a problem with that guy saying that?
No, hold on a second. What is qualified in our offline
Because
thread?
again, none of the guys that Trump appointed were qualified.
Wait, hold
None of them
on.
were.
You know, abstract.
Hold
You
on,
crazy right now, abstract.
Hold up. Let me
Can't
backtrack.
nobody tell you.
I would have a
You
problem
can't
with
say that
that
none
if
of them
he
are
said
not
it.
qualified.
One at a time, please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I would
I
have a
really
problem
good
with that
point.
if
I
he
have a
said
really
it.
good point to make based on our offline thread when we was discussing about the appointment of what was it, Harriet Myers, Bush personal attorney. Like I thought about that. Me and DJ went back and forth with that, and then I thought about it. She was Bush's personal attorney.
Mm-hmm.
But we out like that's not the first precedent of that happening. Thurgood Marshall was just a lawyer. He was never a goddamn judge. He was a hell of a Supreme Court justice. Like when we say qualified, like do we like how do we define what is qualified?
That's a good point, Ologist. That's a very
how do we
good.
define?
Like,
No.
When you go to
That took me back. No.
That's a
DJ,
very good point.
DJ, that shit took me back because me and you we had our thing, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about it. I was like, oh my god, like Thurgood was just an attorney. He never served as a judge in any capacity. He was appointed to the Supreme Court. He was appointed to the Supreme Court based on how many cases he brought to the Supreme Court, and he tried. He won, and they saw that his judicial acumen, so they figured that he was qualified to do it. So I can't say just because you haven't served as a judge, this, that, and the other. Like it's a whole nother set of standards. And I put this in the offline thread. I have to give it to the president and his staff or her staff.
Well, let me ask this.
Do you feel a person should at least have served in the appellate court and have presented a case in front of the Supreme Court?
Say that again.
Or let me tell you this. I'm
gonna ask that question
again. Get pissed at me right now. I know people gonna get pissed. Tell me this: is Kamala Harris eligible to be a Supreme Court justice?
I don't know. I don't know. That's not my
I don't know.
I don't know. All y'all saying I don't know.
No, I'm saying I don't know because I'm not familiar
y'all
with.
Think she's eligible? Y'all think she's qualified?
No, wait, hold on a second. Let me answer the question. I do not know. I do not know because I have not studied her legal history and what she's done in her position as an attorney.
Hey, let's go down to the table. Everybody answer. Do you feel Kamala Harris? Let's ask everybody. Yes or no?
No.
You feel Kamala Harris
Let's not
is qualified to be a Supreme Court justice?
Yeah,
let's go down the road.
I don't know.
We don't know. I don't know, and I don't have enough information to tell you.
I do know.
You're corny, man. You're corny. You're corny, yo. You're corny.
Wait, hold on.
Yo, DJ,
You're corny. We'll get you up tomorrow. We're gonna discuss this.
Gentlemen, can I
Hold up.
Wait.
Stop.
Sean,
DJ.
Go ahead. Let Chuck go.
All right, let me read some facts, right? And then after I read these facts, I'm gonna tell you what I think. Of the 115 justices, 110, 95.7%, have been men. All Supreme Court justices were males until 1981, when Ronald Reagan fulfilled his 1980 campaign promise to place a woman on the court, which he did with the appointment of Sandra Day O'Connor. There have been two
I also
black
put
people.
the quote in the chat.
Let him finish.
There have been two black people, Supreme Court justices, Thurgood Marshall and Clarence Thomas.
One.
I agree.
Abstract. That's why I say you corny. That's why I say you corny. Abstract. You corny.
Let Sean finish. Let Chuck finish.
So I have, and I think Leah and I are agreeing, and correct me if I'm wrong. I have no issue with Joe Biden saying that he's going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. You know why? Because it's about damn time.
Exactly.
You mean to tell
Exactly.
me over the 115 justices, you couldn't find one qualified black woman to be a Supreme Court judge?
I agree.
Yeah, got a point. Got a
That-
point.
that's
Yeah, I
why I
agree.
don't
I
have.
just
I
say, I
agree.
just say you shouldn't have. You don't need to say it. You don't need to announce it.
Right.
Yeah,
Why
that's
not?
all I'm saying.
I'm
Yeah,
actually going to
And
back up
again,
what I was saying
I
earlier.
agree.
That's kind
And
of how I
again,
feel.
and again,
You know what? I'm going to
and
back up a
again,
little bit of what I
hold
was
up,
saying earlier.
hold
I
up.
think
And
that
again, my
Black
point was,
women are the most educated
listen,
demographic in the United States.
and again,
So there's
I'll
not
get,
a person. Wait. No. Black women are the most have achieved the most education out of any demographic in the United States, and there's not one that's on the Supreme Court. Like there's never been one. Like why is that? The most educated group out of all the different groups that you can define a group by, and black women aren't on the Supreme Court.
okay,
I
I'll
agree
get,
with you.
I'll
There should
get,
be
again,
one on the Supreme Court.
again,
Yeah.
when I say something, people tend to take it to another level. All my point was, he did not have to say that
Exactly.
he is going to select a black woman. He only had to say, because with everything going on, because you have a whole, you have this part of the country, that part of the country, everybody, all he had to say is, I'm going to select the most qualified, even though in his head, I'm going to hire a black. That's all I said.
Right. Exactly.
So let me
DJ,
ask
to
this.
be fair to
Let me
DJ,
ask
to be
this.
really
all the
fair,
stuff that he
I
didn't
don't like
have
how
to
he
say,
phrased
and
it
he
either.
said, like, he's the president. Like, he's the president, and I'm gonna put it out there for the whole world. I'm not a Biden supporter. I'm not a Biden fan. It is what it is. I wasn't a Trump fan. Like, we have two standards. We have two standards. We have a Republican standard and we have a Democratic standard. Republicans can, for lack of a better term, they can get away with saying whatever the heck they want to say, and it's okay. But the Democrats, and part of that is probably the Democratic Party, because they act like they're the highbrow party. They take the higher road. That's part of their it's part of their thing. But functionally, a politician is gonna say and do what a politician is gonna do to get across their agenda. And I understand that. And I don't get into what their byline, what their mission statement is, and all that BS, because they're a politician. And they're gonna
Okay, DJ, let me
Exactly.
ask you this, or anybody who doesn't agree with him saying black woman. If I am on the campaign trail, I haven't been elected or anything like that, and I'm speaking to a group of people, and I say to that group of people, especially, I'm sure the people that's behind him know that the black people will Democrats. It's a huge population of black Democrats. If you get the black vote, more than likely you will win, which happened with Biden. So if he's speaking to a group of people, he know his core constituents are black folks, and he says that if I am elected and I get the opportunity to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court, and that helps him get votes, what is wrong with him saying black woman?
Nobody had a problem with that.
Doing it for
Nobody
more
had a
political
problem with
what's
that.
reasons,
wrong
anything
with it?
else.
Nobody had a problem with that.
You know what, Leon?
No, wait a minute. There's
Nobody
a
had a
problem.
problem with that, Leon.
You know what I think?
There's a problem, actually.
Here's what I think, Leon. I'm changing my viewpoint to some degree because it's the campaign promise. And if you make a campaign promise, you kind of follow through with it. If you said on the campaign, Biden said this. I can remember saying this. He said this.
There's other things he didn't
president.
keep.
Well, but
What you say?
This is one that people are holding accountable to. If you're gonna make the promise, you need to hold on to it. So if he made the promise when he was running for office, that's the promise he made. My argument was, and this is before I realized that, he mentioned that when he said on the campaign, is that he, like DJ was saying, I kind of understand what you're saying, that he should have said it, the best candidate, and then hire whoever they wanted to hire, right? But he made the campaign promise. And again, it's a big issue with candidates running, that they have to be held accountable to hold up to their campaign promises. And this is his campaign promise. So, I think I still think he's putting this person in a really tough spot.
What if he had said,
I
Todd,
do think he put a person in a tough spot, but it was his campaign promise. So go ahead.
What if he had said, you know what, if the opportunity presents itself that, I can appoint someone to the Supreme Court, I think I might nominate or put forth a black woman because you know what? I think it's time. We haven't had one on the Supreme Court.
That's
So
a
why
campaign
not?
promise. That's a campaign
We'll
promise.
see,
And
we'll
people,
see,
and
we'll
people would
see when
say,
the time. And add that.
would hold
We'll
them
see
accountable
when
to
the
it.
time
The
comes.
black boys will hold them
And
accountable to it
say,
like they're doing
we'll
now.
see when the time
So
comes.
I think he may have done he in order to get himself nominated or get the nomination, he made his promise, but in a way he it's sort of a promise that is looking at, I don't say it's going to bite him, but he put himself in a tough spot.
Not only
Make it
that,
his
not
promise.
only
Well,
that,
it's a lot
not
of
only
names
that,
out
but
there
it was a
qualified
campaign
anyway.
promise. You have
not
to
only
stand by your
that, not
campaign
only
promises.
that, it almost, this person may be very well qualified. But
Right.
now they got this little asterisk, like, well, dad, was she affirmative action? You know what I'm saying? Why do you go there?
Okay.
I don't
That's
look
the
at
same
it.
thing that
I
they
just
said
think
about
it's gonna make
Clarence
it
going back
Thomas.
to
Say that
Reagan,
again.
Go ahead.
No.
if we're going back to
No, you got to
Reagan,
pause
like,
that. You got to pause
yeah,
that. That's the same thing they said about Clarence Thomas with Bush.
Right.
That was an
Right.
affirmative action hire.
Right.
Right.
So,
and Sean
but
just
we should
read
have
the
learned
quote from
we should have
Reagan.
learned from Thomas. We should have learned from that, bruh. We should have learned from that. Just
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
Clarence
I'm
So the
Thomas is
gonna,
pretty
Republicans,
fucking
wait,
terrible.
I'm gonna
So the
select the most
Republicans
qualified
can do
person.
it, and it's okay. But then the Democrats should learn from that and not do it.
Not do what?
No.
Did the
I'm
Republicans
saying
come
that
out
the
and say they were going
Republicans
to?
can do it. Bush did it. Everybody knew that Clarence Thomas was an affirmative action hire, and it was okay. And he got him through. I'm not saying that it was easy, but he got him through. But all of a sudden, the Democrats should learn from that and not do it.
Yes, just say I'm gonna pick the best person, no matter who you. But you have in your mind, just like we was talking about with the football thing. You have in your mind who you gonna pick.
So Sean just read the quote. Sean, didn't you just read the quote that Reagan fulfilled the campaign promise?
I put that quote in the group chat.
So
Not
what's
the group chat,
the difference
Messenger.
other than him saying black? What's the difference?
If you listen, all right. And
Sean just read it.
All right, what y'all need to do, don't just look at that. When Reagan said he was gonna pursue a woman, and granted, somebody else, I think somebody mentioned like Trump said something. Look at the transcript, because the way Reagan said it,
You want me to read what he said?
Okay, let me finish. Reagan said, let me finish. Reagan said he will consider. He said he will.
Mike.
But listen to the whole transcript. Listen to the whole transcript.
DJ, I copy and pasted his exact terms verbatim. I am announcing today that one of the first Supreme Court vacancies in my administration will be filled by the most qualified woman I can possibly find, one who meets the high standards I will demand for all appointees.
So that's not the whole transcript. That's not the whole. That's not the whole transcript. Read the whole transcript.
I mean, do you want me to go
I
further?
think when you introduce race, you cause issues, right? I think that, I guess.
Doesn't matter if
don't
that's not the whole
but it's a
transcript.
campaign
You
promise.
introduce race, you cause issues, right?
I mean,
that's the bottom line.
Don't cherry pick abstract. Read the whole thing.
No, that's the part where he literally says, "I'm going to pick a woman."
No,
he's already defined it.
Read his whole speech abstract, because it still has to do with selection of a Supreme Court justice. Don't
DJ, was it a campaign promise?
Yeah, what am I missing?
Wait, no. This is what you're missing. This is what you're missing. He said that he was going to hire a woman, and that woman was going to be the most qualified woman that he could hire. That's what you're missing. But he still said he was going to hire a woman, and he did.
He did, yeah.
So what's the difference other than the fact that he said black?
Why y'all have
Because
a
it's a
problem
race.
with,
Because
why
you
y'all have
introduce
a
race
problem-
into it. That's right.
Why y'all have a problem with
but when there's no rep. If you are campaigning to black folks and you say that to black folks, I mean, he's promising us. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with making campaign promises?
Because it's not just
I don't
us.
have a
I
problem
guess
with a
that's the
black.
problem.
Y'all understand?
Wait,
Y'all
it's
understand
just
I have
not
no
us.
problem.
No,
Y'all
no,
understand
see,
I have
this
no
is where-
problem with a black.
Wait,
Y'all
wait.
understand. I hope y'all all understand I have
Oh.
no problem with a black female
Yeah.
justice.
Wait. We need to pause because Republicans.
Y'all all
No,
know
wait,
that
no,
I
no.
have no problem with a black female justice.
We do, DJ.
Yes.
We do.
No. Yeah, no, we know, DJ.
We do. We got.
No. This is where we need to pause because Republicans make campaign promises to their constituencies and they carry through a
Yes,
lot.
they do. Yes, they
A
do.
lot.
I don't
But
think
when
Allergist is
Wait,
arguing. I don't think he's
hold on a
arguing
second.
about
When
campaign
Democratic
promises.
presidents make a promise to their ride or die constituency, because that's who the hell we are. That's who the
Yeah.
hell we are.
Yeah.
And then we carry through. Then all of a sudden we got all this debate and all this talk and all this. Like, this is crazy.
I
This is
agree with you. I
absolutely
agree with
insane.
you, Allergus. I
Democratic
agree.
Party
I
does
definitely
not
agree with
win
you with that.
national elections
I
without
agree
the
with you
black
with that.
turnout vote. This
Also,
is insane.
So go ahead.
I agree with you with that, Allergus.
So okay, so we're introducing race. So what's the difference between introducing race and sexism?
Good point, Leon.
Good point. Unpopular. You were
Okay.
saying there's a
No,
reason.
well,
I
yeah.
guess-
Let
I
me
guess
finish.
that
So
question was
Let
for me.
unpopular
Guess
go.
that
Let it
question
go
was
ahead.
for me.
Let it
So-
marinate.
Let unpopular speak.
the thing is,
that question to me?
sometimes I think when we, especially when you introduce race, and I think sometimes we overplay how much power we actually have, right? At the end of the day, we're 15% of the population,
Right.
right? So we're only 15% of the population, right? So by saying race, right, what we do is we open the door for them to say race in the future, right? So they've never said it, even though they've selected white men for the majority of the positions. In the future, they could go out and just say it, right? They could say it. And if they said it, we would have a problem with it. To say that we wouldn't have a problem with a Republican saying, I'm going to elect a white male for whatever position, we would say that was racist, right?
Yeah.
Talk.
Right. We would say
Well,
it was
hold
racist.
up, though.
I
Hold
might-
up.
There's a difference.
I might say it's kind of being actually pretty honest.
Preach,
But
unpopular.
before Biden even said that, Trump was saying all of the crap that
But
racist
that doesn't mean it's
shit.
that doesn't mean it's right though, right? That doesn't mean just because somebody does something doesn't mean you do the same thing, right?
Preach.
You don't do the same thing
Again,
as somebody else.
I go
politics,
back to
though.
my original.
Actually,
So it's okay if we do it in a sexist manner versus a race manner.
I don't know if I would say it
Can I
was
actually
okay.
answer both questions? So here's what I'm getting from this. When a lot of times when we bring up issues of race, it kind of comes down to but what about me though? Missing the fact that the overwhelming majority, and this is tough because I get the spirit of unpopular's argument. You basically qualified how most of the time how I think. Here's the problem. Most of the time, most of the Supreme Court judges have been white men, despite the fact that the country is very diverse. If anything, the Supreme Court should reflect more of the actual makeup of the country. There should be more representation from Black people on the court because we're 15% of the population. And there's been 2 nominees. There's been 2 Black Supreme Court justices now. That's not represented.
Hey,
this is kind of what the.
I'll tell you how you can fix it.
I'm going to
Don't
tell
worry,
you.
I'm almost done, DJ. Give me just one moment. So, in the issues of trying to address things in terms of race is to make up for that fact of disparity. Again, I'm going to reiterate my point because I want DJ to hear it. Every time we bring up an issue of race, there's a certain, but what about me though, mindset that comes up when in practice, there are white people who are going to react like, well, I want a white judge next, missing the fact that the overwhelming majority of Supreme Court justices are white. They're overrepresented, despite the fact that Black people are 15% of the population. Hispanics are another 15%, I'm guessing. There should be more representation in our courts, in our jobs, even what we said about the NFL. Most of the players are black. Most of the coaches aren't. Something's
No, I'm
going
not.
on.
I guess.
Lifetime terms.
I guess I'm not.
Lifetime terms play a
I'm not
part in
disagreeing
that.
with you. I guess we're disagreeing on how we get there, right? I just don't think you need to telegraph what you're going to do.
Right.
I guess.
Exactly.
Right. You don't need
Honestly,
to. You don't necessarily need to make things more difficult. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
you can get what
if
you
I'm in
want
the
without
popular,
telling
and let me
can I
tell
put
this.
some?
what you
Can I
what
come
you're going
behind
to do.
DJ's point to make
Can I
unpopular's point?
let me say this.
I want to tag team. I've been quiet for a while. I've earned this.
All right,
Have
you
I earned
told
this,
me you
DJ?
let me talk.
Can I try to make
Go
a
ahead.
point that combines some of your
Yeah.
perspective and mine? Ideally, what I would love to see happen every step of the way is it happened naturally. The barriers that prevent people from getting into these positions are so thoroughly removed. Social mobility, access becomes such a thing that it just naturally happens. Like
Okay.
technically the an ideal world, what I would prefer to happen is this. I'm going to pick the most qualified person. Hey, look at that. The most qualified person just so happened to be this black woman. And the argument would always be, yo, she's the most qualified person. Because the unfortunate thing that keeps happening by trying to address it artificially, there's this double over effect of, but what about me though? Even though
No.
that's what
No.
everybody keeps doing.
No, because if you put it out there in front, that what about me comes out much harder when you're gonna eliminate, basically, because how many judges, probably less than 10% black women that qualify for that job. So the other 90-something%, it creates a bigger problem. But let me get back. I'm gonna give y'all this, and y'all dig this. Somebody said
Thanks for
brother,
agreeing with me,
hold
Joe.
up. Y'all brother.
I'm saying thank you. Don't tell me to hold up when I'm saying
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. But listen, y'all brought up about Trump, mentioned about doing selecting a woman, right? Then y'all, what did Trump during his administration? What opportunity that he has that Reagan and Biden never had? How many people did he have a chance to nominate in 4 years?
I don't know. We always playing Jeopardy when you start asking
Was
questions.
it
How
three?
many?
I think it was
Your
three.
Sean said Truck. I see Truck Robinson. No.
3.
How many?
Isn't it three?
Yes. So the
Two
first time
white
he
men
had a
and a
chance,
white
the
woman.
first time he had a chance, what did who did he nominate? A white what?
Merrick
A white
Garland?
man.
That wasn't
A
Merrick
white man.
Garland, was it?
So
Man,
it's the second time, who did he nominate?
A white
Brett
man.
Kavanaugh?
The third time, who the hell did he nominate? Get the
DJ,
hell
who
out of
white
here.
That's a
man?
shout.
White.
I'm dropping the mic.
Why are you dropping
Amy-
the mic? They're all white.
Amy Cole
Just
and
he just
I'm
I
picked
can't
the
dropping the
white
remember. How do
man
you
for
say
another
her
white
name?
man.
Well, you need to
So,
pick it up.
I'm dropping the
You need to
mic
pick it up.
because I'm
Don't turn
dropping
it
the
off.
mic because he should have picked a woman, what the most qualified. I don't care if it's black, and even today, I don't care who it is,
All-
as long as the person is the most qualified when it comes to Supreme Court.
DJ, objectively speaking,
he just
But-
replaced a woman with another woman.
aren't.
Exactly.
Actually, you know what? Nope. I think I might be incorrect there. I double checked this up. 9 of the judges across the board that he nominated for different positions, 9 of them weren't certified. It wasn't all of them. 9 of them were not certified by the American
Why
Bar
do you say
Association.
that?
He
I
just
do not know if
replaced
Amy
Trump
Coney Barrett was
Why
when
do
he
you say
replaced
that?
a
Why do
woman.
you
He
say that?
replaced a
I
woman
think
with
any-
because
another
I want to
woman.
be correct. I don't want to share
Why do
misinformation.
you say that?
Because the American Bar Association reviews the candidates they pick. Some of them were not certified. They didn't meet the bar standard. That bar, the very important thing that you have to maintain to be a lawyer or a judge.
All right, abstract, because you know I do my research. You better be.
I know,
talking
that's
what
why I
you
wanted
know
to also
about.
correct
You know
myself.
I do
It
my
is
research.
not-
So
not
DJ,
all.
this is
right,
why
he's
I
got
said-
all the
I do
conspiracy
my
books.
research. You
So-
know I
so
do my
again,
research.
again, the fact that on the campaign trail, when you say whatever the hell you want to say to get votes, the fact that he said he would elect a black woman, if he was president and said that shit, maybe it would be different. But he was trying to get votes, and he said,
Yeah.
if I'm elected, and I had the opportunity, I will elect the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. I have no issues with that at all.
I don't either.
None.
To me, it's a campaign promise. So that's my
qualified.
that's my argument.
It's not a
I don't
question
either.
of being
I
a
don't either.
campaign promise.
I don't
just
either.
think
As long as the person qualified, I don't either.
No, wait a
Well,
second.
there's definitely
For me-
plenty of qualified sisters out there.
No,
Some
no.
sisters even brought plenty of cases to the Supreme Court. Some people clerked for the dude that's retiring. It's the sisters that clerked for him. So there's plenty of folks that's out there qualified. And now I'm glad he has the opportunity to give them the opportunity to be on the bench.
Qualified does not mean that you served in a judicial capacity. Qualified should be based on your ability to interpret.
Where the Constitution. Your knowledge of the Constitution.
No. Interpret and understand the law.
Knowledge of the Constitution.
Yes, and the Constitution is part of the law. DJ, the Constitution. I'm including that when I make that general statement. I'm saying that, and you can do that as a judge. You can do that as an attorney. And the example I gave earlier on the cast was Thurgood Marshall. He demonstrated that he had the ability to understand and interpret in law by his ability to bring cases to the Supreme Court, try them, and consistently win. Consistently win because of his arguments. Wow, he really gets this. He understands the law because he's making these legal points as an attorney, and he's able to do this. Yeah. Other folks are able to demonstrate through that their work as a judge and do it. So the Bar Association, that's nice, but the Bar Association is an institution, and they're going to.
I could give a fuck.
No. They're going to certify, and I'm not saying that anybody that they certify or not certify is legitimate or illegitimate. But there's
you would have
they're
to.
just one, and they're just one of the people. They're just one of the entities that they're just one of the entities.
It's not just an institution.
Yes, you do. But I'm saying
the bar is just one of the entities.
No, I'm just saying that the bar is an institution, so they have their own agenda. They want to.
Yeah, and they're just one of the institutions.
They want to promote folks that's in line with whatever their agenda is and their beliefs is. And you can have people that pass the bar that don't necessarily agree with their
also
agenda.
Be in good standing.
Yes. And
if this was a different organization,
wait, hold on a second. Good standing means that according to the bar, you have upheld their standards and principles.
Yeah.
You can upheld
that's all that means.
The law.
That's all that means. They're not the determination. They're not the determining entity.
You can uphold the standards. You can uphold the standards and the principles of their associations and not necessarily agree with them, because that's what you need to do to practice the profession that you want to practice.
The fact that they eligible,
like the profession that I practice, I'm not a part of the organization that folks say that I should be a part of, because some of the tenets of that, some of the tenets of that profession, I don't agree. Hold on a second. I don't agree with some of the tenets and that they agree with because of my culture, my experience, and my background. Because that's.
Are we talking about the bar?
Of how I was
Are we talking
raised.
about other organizations are the bar?
No.
Again,
you're not understanding what I'm saying.
The bar is just the fact that you eligible for nomination means that you meet all the bar guidelines. The fact that you eligible.
And they would have deemed it so.
Because if you
by the way,
that's a certification. That's a you're in line, you're in the in group, and you're part of our thing. That doesn't mean that you haven't met the qualifications.
Sounds like you're making a lot of
the criteria. No.
But it's not going to satisfy everybody either, because what if you go on by qualifications? I mean, like what Alex is saying is correct. Like if he picked somebody who never even brought
or presented a case
which is what happened. Some of his nominees had not brought a case. That's why they weren't certified. If we were
missing a principle,
you're
missing a principle. The principle of the matter is like a sitting president and his selection committee of who he's going to deem appropriate for selection to the Supreme Court. they have to figure out, does this person in their experience, in their history, whether they was a judge or not, whether they're certified by the bar or they're approved by the bar to be nominated for the Supreme Court, do they have an understanding of the interpreting the law, applying the law based on their experience?
When the bar
That's the
come in,
bare minimum.
That's the only bare minimum that they bring to the table. Ologist.
Yes,
Have
sir.
any of y'all ever heard of the Arabella advisors? I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna go as far as this. And I know y'all might think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but y'all always test me.
We all are. We all are.
But y'all find out. Yo, do y'all even think that Biden is the person that that's making the decision, or are there other powers that be?
Well, that's any president.
That's any president.
That's across the board. People thought that
Okay.
when Bush was president, people thought that Cheney was running the show. So that's across the
Trump was
board.
making all the decisions. Really?
I asked y'all to look.
I think he was. He's making them so bad.
To look up Arabella, and I'll spell it for you, and to find out what kind of influence that they have, because they have influence in anything related to liberal causes, because their
Justin
funders,
Walker.
their funders are people like Melinda and Bill Gates.
I think you could say that for Republicans. Also.
Yeah, you can.
Truth.
So I'm gonna
do that for both parties.
So what's the point?
Ask y'all, I'm gonna spell it for you in case y'all don't know, and then y'all research. The spelling is ARAB as in Bravo, ELLA advisors, and see who those people are.
Yeah, but you could do the same thing for the Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. It goes both ways.
I love the Koch brothers.
Thank you.
Does the Koch brother got Gates money?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not like that.
Yes.
Hold on. All right. So George Soros. Okay, George Soros.
Wait. Why does it matter who? Why does a billionaire matter how much billions they got? It's the same thing. It's just on the Republican side.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Bill
But
Koch
all I
$2.1
hear is the
billion.
Koch brothers. Tell me
Charles
somebody
Koch
else.
is worth 53.6.
Tell me somebody else.
Just pick any
With the
Republican
Home
think
Depot
tank.
dude.
Pick any
the
Republican
Chick-fil-A
think tank.
What difference does it make?
What difference does it make?
No.
Yeah.
You asked
the My Pillow
people.
guy.
I gave you
y'all
two
tell me.
others. What difference does it make?
I'm questioning y'all political acumen right now.
Well, we giving it to you.
You're gonna lose, bro.
I'm questioning y'all political acumen right now.
Oh,
Who you think you've been talking to for the past 3 weeks?
So y'all always come at me.
Can
Y'all
I just throw
came
something
at
out
me.
there? I'm gonna leave in a minute. The Koch
Me
brothers
too.
own Georgia Pacific, which owns Dixie cups. So the little red cups that you sip your Hennessy.
Your yak.
Who is that?
Yeah.
Who is
Your
that?
yak.
The Koch brothers. They own that.
They own Dixie cups.
Yeah, and brownie paper towels. So that's what.
So
that's
what
one
was
of the
your
companies
point in
that-
bringing up the folks with who you just brought up? What was that point?
My point of bringing that up, and I hope y'all take the time. I hope you take the time. Just Google Wikipedia who these people are and their influence in politics, and as far as funding.
Okay.
And I guarantee those. Hold up. Let me finish, man. Those are the people who probably have more influence than the president on who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice.
Okay.
And you know what? Abstract. I know you because I know how you are. I'm a little older than you, and you always like question some of the things. But have I been wrong, Abstract? And Mike.
Mike's not here, and on some of this stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Tell me what.
Okay.
Mike. Just tell me what, Abstract. Tell me
The
what.
question is, even with this one, To what end? Are you like a Bernie Sanders supporter or something?
Hell no.
No.
What I'm telling you,
I'm saying
what I'm
because
telling you,
That
every
was
what I'm
the
telling you
insult,
politician
abstract.
is
That
will
was the
somebody
insult.
tell
by
abstract what I'm
someone.
saying? Will somebody tell abstract what I'm saying?
So no, I'm saying, are you trying to make an argument that you don't want politicians funded by billionaires? Like to what end? I don't.
What
to
I'm
what
saying
end?
is that billionaires, especially ultra, I'm talking about ultra billionaires. I ain't talking about Michael Jordan or Beyonce and shit like that. I'm talking about ultra
Yeah.
billionaires.
We know
They
that's
have a say so. They have anything. They have a say so in any liberal concern or issue.
yeah, or they won't get funded for their next election. That's
Yeah.
And
But
the,
that's
and
basic
the
Or-
Koch
function of how our
brothers,
both
political
ways,
system
Billionaires have a
works.
stake
Just,
in
just do the
anything
research.
that
Just do the
Republicans
research.
do
I ain't even gonna
also.
argue with y'all. Just do the research.
exactly. You
That
can't
goes
the
make
back
this.
to
Republicans
It's
do the
not
same
just
thing,
liberal,
DJ.
bro.
yeah,
It's
that
not
goes
just
That's what
back
I'm
to
liberal,
getting.
bro.
Republicans do the
That's
DJ, can
that
you answer me this?
this is the
Is
result
this
from
the part I'm
Citizens
not
United,
following?
the Supreme
Huh?
Court.
That's how our political system works. If you have a lot of money, you donate to a politician. The reason a lot of our politicians are doing shit that we, the people, don't want is if they do X, Y, and Z, they don't get funding from their lobbyists or their supporters. In
So
order to do
was you aware, Arabella?
I just read today.
yes,
I just read today that Trump
that's
and
how that shit
Mar-a-Lago
works.
charged $100,000 up. It was $100,000 a plate dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Obviously, it was campaign. It was campaign fundraising or whatever, and it was 250 grand for a picture with him.
With who?
Picture.
With
Trump.
Huh.
Mhm.
This
Or they
just
sell
happened
art to make
yesterday or
money.
day
There's
before
that too.
yesterday. I read it today. But again, DJ, you saying that billionaires, it doesn't matter if they're ultra or not. They're billionaires. If they have influence, like again, I brought up the Koch brothers, the Home Depot owner, Chick-fil-A dude. All of these
Lowe's.
people support Republicans and donate a ton of money.
The
So what?
CEO of Goya,
So look at
Papa
it both
John's.
sides, bro.
Facebook, Google.
It's not just
Go ahead.
liberals; it's conservative as well. They're trying to keep
Mhm.
they're trying to keep their loot. They're trying to keep the taxes off of them. They're going to support it by throwing their money at it because they
Yeah,
got it
like
because their taxes ain't being cut.
so. Yeah, DJ.
Okay,
It's like if
and
you're
I
gonna bring
understand.
this up,
But
do you
and
want
understand.
finance reform?
I mean, their
Okay,
taxes are
understand what
being.
I said, and I go back to what I said. I said y'all think that Biden is going to be the one that make the ultimate decision, and I'm telling
I
you,
don't think that.
I'm saying that
I-
he's not. That
I
he's-
most certainly
there's a
don't
good
think
chance
that.
he ain't.
No
I don't
one's
either.
arguing with you there.
All right.
Huh?
No one's arguing with you there.
Okay.
This is kind of how our political
And that's
system
what
works.
I said. And then I brought them people in because I feel they have more influence on who that person's gonna than Biden does.
You
So
think
Very
you think
polite.
Trump?
I
You
mean
think
this
Trump made
very
all his
politely,
decisions?
DJ.
All of the money
No
that went in
shit.
the ads for Kavanaugh. Come on, that wasn't Demo or what I want to say liberals putting up the money for them Kavanaugh commercials. Come on.
Dan Crenshaw's commercials. For a good time, look up the commercials for Dan Crenshaw.
Hell no.
You ain't dealing with no political slouches, bro. We know.
Oh, the Federalist Society, how most of the judges came from that.
I understand.
Or even
But
the fact that Clarence Thomas's wife is an activist and a lobbyist herself.
Hell,
That's not a
Thomas's
conflict
wife
of
I
interest at
understand.
all.
We just spent the
And
hour
linked to the
talking about
January 6th riots, the organization she
yeah, she was
supports.
driving folks
we
to the
spent the
damn
hour.
thing.
We spent the hour talking about what Biden said during his campaign, and he ain't even the decision maker.
You think Trump was the
Trump
decision
wasn't
maker for all
the
his
total
decisions?
decision maker.
That's why I'm really arguing. To what end are you making your point? We already know this. That's why I keep saying, unless you're like a Bernie Sanders supporter who is pretty much universally supported just by public donations, he literally has made that a repeated point that he's funded just by the people. Then what's the point?
Wait a second. For the record, DJ, for the record, you are you saying that you saying Republican presidents make decisions and Democratic presidents is somebody else making decisions? Because that's what
No,
your
I'm not
argument
saying
sounds
that. No,
like.
I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
It goes both ways. It go both ways.
Fellas, I'm gonna
just-
call it a night. Yeah.
Same
Later,
here.
Chuck Robinson. I mean, Dad.
Yeah, folks, we
All right,
we
Truck.
went way deep on
It
this
goes,
one, man.
it goes,
We-
it goes
we-
both ways.
We
We
went
are,
way
hey,
deep on this one, man.
the education talk, man, that was yo deep and something that need to have as far as the
Good talk.
education and
Definitely,
everything.
definitely.
We will
I do
continue
think
this
we need to
again,
do better
man.
about questioning our own culture, though.
We-
It's on
we-
my mind all the time.
What you say? What you say? Abstract?
We need to do better at questioning our own culture. It is fucking easy as shit to just say society, white people, whatever the fuck. Everyone needs to do that.
Yeah.
No, there are things we need to do about our culture.
Yeah,
Yep.
We got to
It-
fix
it-
home.
it's not an easy
Got
fix
that right.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we-
it's
And
not
we-
a fun conversation at all.
And
It
fixing
sucks.
that, we can't just dwell in the negative shit either.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
not an
Originally, this was
easy
supposed to be
fix.
all positive.
Exactly.
No, it was supposed to be a discussion. It's supposed to be what it was. I don't
It's
think.
not an easy.
I-
Oh
it's
shit,
not
you
an
supposed
easy
to moderate this stuff, Street.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm letting y'all moderate it, and this is part one. So
No, you
See,
supposed to
Actually,
moderate.
I had a
not let us.
suggestion about
We got
that.
we got 3 more weeks of Black History Month.
that's right. So 3
Oh,
more
yeah.
weeks of this.
There's a. I had gotten this suggestion, but it's kind of like, did everyone have fun tonight?
yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
had fun.
You know, I'm glad I called, even though I was determined not to get my blood pressure up on my birthday. But
You need to
Well,
have
I
some
did.
serenity with me now. So you're like,
but I'm glad it was cool. I made a few points I wanted to make. You know, it's all love.
Definitely.
Now I'm sure my wife is. She sleep, but I'm sure she's like, where the
oh,
hell
you're
am
gonna
I?
hear about that in the morning.
I'm gonna talk to her about it. If she
All right,
don't hear me down here yelling.
All right, fellas, we gotta
So,
do this again.
Wait, Streets, I wanted to run this by you. What if we set this up kind of like a, what the fuck is that guy's name? Not John Mayer. What the fuck is his name? He has guests on his show all the time. Real Time with Bill Maher, Bill Mayer. What the
Bill
fuck?
Maher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bill
where it's
Maher.
like, yeah, what I'm not a fan. I find him to be kind of an elitist douchebag. Anywho, one of the things he does though is like he'll be like, "Hey guys, what do you think about this? What do you think on this subject?" And then it'll go back to you and be like, "Hey Leon, what do you think on this?" And it just keeps going back and forth. We just
Oh,
keep
yeah.
checking back in the streets.
That might work.
I mean, we are
That
talking
might
heads
work.
at this point.
But you know, but people have to listen. They have to mute when someone is talking.
Yeah,
So
I say next
we
time
have,
let's try.
we
it
have
that
to
way.
work on practicing our mute button privileges.
Well, no, it's not necessarily mute button. If we had a specific order, you're gonna go to this person and that person and that person. Everybody know
Yeah.
they're gonna get a chance to talk.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
if we allow us to respond to whoever says what.
Yeah.
But the only thing I think we should stick to, which I try to do a little bit, is like keep it to the original question asked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's easy for us to go down into different holes.
It is.
And Jens.
All right,
But
folks. All right, folks. We've been on like for 3.5 hours now.
yeah,
Abstract.
All day,
Hey,
man.
abstract. Hey, abstract.
Yes.
All right, all right, man. So do I represent? Because remember we had this little thing on the tech. Am I representing? You told me
yeah.
about going looking my certain way in the dream or whatever. Remember what you said?
I believe I said we have to be the. Fuck it. I'll just be really honest with you. The real reason I kept trying to bring up that point, or I didn't want to let the thing go, even though I knew it was getting late, was I was afraid. Like, let's say one of these times we go out for dinner or whatever. It's all of us just sitting in a group, we're eating, and that topic comes up about the January 6th shit. I was worried what happened to that dude in Texas could happen to you. And I
Dude
think
in
one of the
Texas.
cornerstones of this group is, as Black dudes, us looking out for other Black dudes or just being good to each other. I was just trying to like also express some of like my pain from that whole experience with the January 6th shit, because again, I have friends who are Trump supporters, and as far as I'm really concerned, I hate what happened. I hate the people that died. I hate that people died. I hate that effectively we've got more people entering into the criminal justice system and their lives are fucking ruined, all to get back at, for what? For this dude that lied to them?
Yeah.
These guys got lied to and now their lives are pretty much fucking over. And I'm like, if Trump cared about his supporters in any way, shape, or form, all he had to do was fucking tell them, fight later. And I understand getting passionate about that because those elitist motherfuckers, those rich motherfuckers who I think did a thorough job shitting on your generation as much as they've shat on mine. Thing is, Trump is one of those motherfuckers. This guy bankrupted his company, what, 7 times? And each time we bailed him out. What they did was, in order to attack demagogues and elitists, they sacrificed themselves for a fucking elitist, and now they're in jail or they're dead. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't stand
Well, at least
that.
Pence told them to
The
F off
thing is-
today. So
Yeah, the thing is that I'm not, you gotta understand, I'm just a conservative. I'm a Democrat, conservative. I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter.
You scared me during the first
all right,
podcast.
I'm going now. I gotta
like
go now.
thoroughly. I was worried about you.
I
Why
gotta
you
go
scared?
now.
Why I scare you?
All right, fellas. We'll do this
yeah.
again, man.
I'm a conservative.
This
okay
line
to
is gonna
be
take us
conservative,
another
it's
hour.
just-
So.
Yeah. We're not going further, man.
Nope.
It's called.
All
Then.
right.
Thank y'all,
We
brothers,
could
for
do
the
another
birthday
part.
love.
Right.
This is just something that me and
love.
Abstract. Abstract was questioning. Todd. Abstract was questioning, like almost like what I contribute to the movement in society. You know me from college.
I just don't want you to be, I'm worried that you can be so conservative and so much against the opposition that effectively, in your own words, it sounded like you were happy that these people got terrorized. That was pretty much a terrorist attack.
Okay, all right.
I'm
good.
I get that from another
All right.
perspective.
Gentlemen,
See
good
you-
night.
see you
Maybe we
brothers
can
next
talk
week.
on the
Good night.
phone.
Good night. We'll handle this again, man.
Just be good, DJ.
All right,
Be
man.
good, man.
Peace.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Peace.
It's all